But no, Beth, York goes crashing down. Determination, the suffering, the ability to... And she's unleashed everything in this attack. See just how much that win means to him. All the marvels. Kayla versus Allison, and to the line. Kayla Laguna takes the victory. Hello everybody and welcome back. It is the tournament time here in the CVRcade World Cup bracketed sessions. My name is Jesper Anker. Later on I'll be joined by the always awesome Frank Garcia, but it's tournament time. Nerves are in the air. At the end of this week, somebody will walk away with $3,000. Now, second place gets a lot of money, third place gets a lot of money, so it's not just first place, but the top dog takes home $3,000. That's what they're racing for. You've seen the open sessions, you've seen the bracketed session seeding, and now today we're going to have 4-man up racing here. So Zone K, Zone L, and Zone M. So 3 hours today of action-packed racing in a totally different packaging today. No one quite knows how this will pan out, and I think that's what makes it so exciting. In this first zone of the day, we've got first seed Quinton Mullinace going up against second seed Allison Kubota, third seed Homer Thompson, and fourth seed Rick Woods. It's gonna be a fireworks of a start here. It's gonna be all guns blazing, and I can't wait to see how it unfolds. First up, let's go have a chat with Quinton Mullinace. Quinton, you were dangling with the first and second seed at the top in the cycle data. In the end, Moti pips you out here. You're racing Allison, Homer, Rick. What do you think of the competition here today?
Competition is going to be tough. I mean, it's always going to be a matter of staying consistently in the top two to make sure that you're going through. Because unlike a normal Omnium, you can't really think that certain people will fall down like to 10th place in a certain race. So it will be very close.
Electric Rush up first here. We've never seen this track before with so few riders in a no-skill event. How do you think this is going to unfold?
I have no idea. We could be swimming with the bots. We could see somebody just go off the front and stay away. Just as you said, it's new to everybody, and I'm curious how it will all fold out.
I like the words from you, Quinton. We're going to go and chat to one of your competitors as well. Homer Thompson, back on the stream. Always good vibes from our friend from CCC. Homer, how are you feeling today?
I'm feeling nervous.
No shame in doing that. Do you have the support of the CCC group? Ben, Nigel, Peter, have you spoken about the structure for the tournament?
No. I haven't.
Well, as always with you guys from the yellow jerseys, I love the honesty. Now, same thing as I asked Quinton, the competition here today, what do you make of Allison, Quinton, and Rick?
I have to ask myself why I'm even in this race, but these guys are all so good. I'll give it my best shot, and what happens, but these guys are great, so it's going to be tough.
That's very nice. I mean, Homer, you've earned your right to be here. You're a third seed. We'll see when the racing begins. Best of luck to you and Quinton. Thanks for taking the time as well to Allison and Rick who are broadcasting in today. I believe neither Allison nor Rick have audio activated here, so we won't be able to speak to them, but we can see them in the racing today. But also joining me in the broadcast, in the booth today with audio is Frank Garcia. So Frank Garcia is going to be joining me. He's been racing heavily. You've heard him give some insight, but Frank, this is it now. We got 3 laps of Electric Rush coming up next year. What do you think is going to happen in this first no-skill event?
I think everyone will take it pretty easy. Not a lot of points on offer. You've got 4 big races following this in terms of points. So I think this one will just be get the legs warmed up, do a little bit of a sprint at the end, but not too big, and sort of set yourself up at the top of the scoreboard.
We've got Homer Thompson out with an early start here. Very, very humble interview. Not knowing quite why he's here, but that's what the physical equalization is all about. And he's off to an early start. It's only 3 laps. An electric rush. A lap just finishes with a blink of an eye. And in a second, we're already on the latter 2 laps here as Homer continues on the front here. This is going to be interesting because this will be a first tell of who has got the legs, and we're already halfway through the racing. Who will it be? They've stuck away with the bots, and we look here. CVRcade's Rick Woods. Allison Kubota with a long-range attack. She's got the comeback kit, but she's way off the back here using it. So it looks like she's trying to slingshot her way through here, but 200 meters remain. Is she going to time this well? Homer on the front, 1,000. She's got the momentum. 100 meters remain. Rick, Allison on the front. Rick versus Allison. Allison with a comeback kit will be second. Homer third. Rick takes the victory. And Quinton down in fourth. What did you make of that, Frank?
It was great gameplay. I think Allison decided to gamble on the comeback kid. I think she burned a little bit too much energy there. I've got a little bit of bias towards Allison. I want to see Allison do well. In the tournament there. That almost paid off for the victory, but maybe a little bit too much energy in comparison to Rick. Rick did burn a little bit of energy there as well, though.
Now, on to the next race we go. Fantastic Alien Sea as we just watched the highlight. Rick with a great spread, 175. Homer at 190 as we just watched the highlight once more. We'll see if Rick does have audio enabled as he gets ready here in amongst the action. Rick, are you able to hear me right now? We will take that as a no as he's getting ready. But on the flip side, we'll go and chat with Homer Thompson once more. Homer, that last race, you landed yourself a 3rd spot. We saw you on the front for much of it. How are the legs feeling here today?
They hurt. They hurt, and I was in the wrong place. I shouldn't have been on the front spot, that's for sure. So, my mistake.
Well, now you've got plenty of racing to make up for that. 4 more races is coming up. How do you feel about Fantastic Alien Sea?
It's going to be tough. It's going to be rough. As I said, I'm up against such good racers here that I don't give myself much hope. But as I said, I'll give it my best shot, and so we'll see what happens.
That's all you can ask for. Thank you very much, Homer. Let's go and chat to Quinton, because that may not have been the start he would have wanted. 4th in that last one, Quinton. Is that all according to plan, or did you get caught off guard?
I got caught off guard, and my legs are not feeling great, so I'm gonna be in a very big hurt locker for the rest of the night.
Oh man, that'll be interesting to see how you recover. But Fantastic Alien Sea, this is one of your better courses, your better tracks. Is this where you try and recover?
I think I have a choice, because if I want to be sure to go through, then I'll have to do anything that I can do.
Well, we'll see how it goes. 2 minutes remain. I'll let you chat because I know you do have your team support there discussing strategy, but there you got it, Frank. You heard Homer say he'll give it his best. Quinton down in 4th, not the best start. Only top 2 go on through. I mean, we haven't seen this before. What kind of strategies do you think we'll see today that we don't normally see here in the racing?
Well, if Q's legs really aren't good, then I would say this is looking good for Ellison and Rick, who are already at the top of the leaderboard. But I kind of think Quinton was holding something back there. So we'll see if Quinton's playing Sebastian poker and see how his legs really turn out. But this should define pretty quickly how those legs are really, really feeling.
Sebastian poker. I like that, but I think that's coming from everybody because Homer's saying, I don't know why I'm here. I mean, it's as much of a mental game as it is a physical game. So trying to get into the other opponent's heads, I mean, we've seen it with Casey, we've seen it with Peter, we've seen it with Nigel, if you can tilt somebody. But likewise, if you can give somebody a false sense of security, you can hit them with the 1-2 punch over the top. But 3 laps coming up here, Fantastic Alien C. Frank. How do you think this one will pan out?
Well, this one is really, really interesting. It looks like Ellison has some good legs. Looks like she's highly motivated. And so sort of expect Ellison to really lay down the pressure, maybe Quentin as well. I would expect Homer and Rick to follow. And then after, maybe we see where things fall out after the first lap. But I would expect the first lap to be fairly guarded.
I think so as well. I think the bots could very well play a role here as we get ready with 10 seconds remaining until the start goes. I think this is where we'll see the Lex and the Omnium really shape up. So the top 2 riders do qualify on through to the next stage, which is on Saturday. If you do not qualify through today, then you are out from this Omnium. You are out from this tournament, and you have to wait until the grand finale week next week to go back into the racing. And that's why we're seeing an early start here from Quentin off the front, Frank.
Yeah, he definitely laid down the power. Now everybody has responded. You got Homer a little bit off the back here, so Homer's got to sort of up the game here. And you see Ellison playing it, conservative. This is not a low skill event, so people have to pay attention to the other riders and make sure that they don't go down. And it'll be interesting to see. Looks to me that Ellison is playing this smart and trying to get maximum draft.
It's going to be fascinating because there's no bonus points today. There's no preferred zones, no streaming points as I'm aware, which means however the Omnium flares towards the end is how it will be. So you can literally see everything in real time. And if we bring down the scoreboard, if it was to end right now, you'd see the top 2 spots occupied by Rick Woods and Quentin Molyneux. But that's just right now. There's plenty of racing left. And it looks like the first attack here from Quentin, the first effort, is being well guarded by the rest. How do you react to that, Frank? Because you have a poor first race. The second race you come out and say, right, I'm going to shake 1 or 2 riders. But they're still there.
Well, I might actually believe that Q's legs aren't feeling that good. So one of the things that I learned early on in my cycling career is one of the ways that you can sort of maintain energy conservation, it's counterintuitive, is to go to the front and then sit at just a pace that's easy for you, right?
Homer goes down.
Oh, that's heartbreak, right? And again, probably the low skill versus medium skill caught Homer out there.
Poor for Homer here, crashing down. And when it's only 4 riders, every crash is magnified. Getting back on is going to get tougher and tougher. And you do have 2 power-ups. We see one being used here. Wind at your back and weight lifted. But he's going to have to fight to get back in. And now we'll really get to tell from the front 3, because there's no teammates in this across the 4 racers. So who considers Homer a threat? And right now, Quentin and Rick are still doing the pacing, but this is not optimal for Homer.
Not optimal for Homer, but you'll notice that Quentin he's below 367. The magic number. He is just going comfortable. I think it's a mistake for Ellison and Rick to be sitting in at the moment. I think they ought to test Quentin. I don't, if Quentin is a little bit concerned about his legs, which he might be showing here, well, you've got to test that. Is he playing poker, or is he on a bad day? And if he's on a bad day, you ought to drop him like a red hot potato and leave him in your wake.
It is pretty much like a poker table here. You really gotta utilize when you've got good cards and they've got bad cards. And we'll see Homer. He managed to get back on. He's used both power-ups. Can he recover here and not panic on the descent? Because this is a technical descent, and you may forget that you can crash in some of these corners because we race it as a low-skill event. As here, Allison, Frank, she's now pushing it here on the descent.
Yeah, so she's going to test everybody's skill and nerve, right? And see if she can get a little bit of gap or crash some people. Going down on the descent. And you see Quentin here playing with fire next to Homer. Very fortunate that he didn't go down there.
Also seeing Rick on the broadcast, he's also playing with fire. All three of these riders near the back here. Allison's plan is working, but no one has gone down just yet. Rick's on the edge, and then Homer goes down again. Oh, heartbreak once more for the CCC rider. Can he get back without power-ups again here?
I think it's going to be difficult for him at this point. Even if he does, he will have burnt a couple of matches. I think he could have stayed in with one match and also been able to counter, sort of wind at your back with draft and weight lifted with a big effort. But now if he gets back, it's going to really hurt to burn another match and put him in a world of hurt for the other areas. We see here Quentin's making a huge attack.
Quentin,
but he's not
now
really committed. Yeah,
he's
not really
but
committed.
He is. 800 equalized watts, 189 equalized heart rate. I think he's just testing to see what the rest can do. I think Quentin is playing an interesting game here, Frank. He wants to go hard, but he wants to go just hard enough that he's not burning every single match here. Do you think that's smart?
No. so I think what he's doing here is not smart because, look, if you're going to attack. These sort of half-hearted attacks, usually what they end up doing is just making your opponents think that they have the ability to beat you and to come back and to be able to let you go. Now, you could kind of play a little bit of a rope-a-dope and try and convince your opponents that you don't have it today, a la Lance Armstrong in the day, right? But I just think with Quentin's, if he's got good legs, he should have just rode away, got a 5-second gap, and then maintained just the amount of power that he had to burn. But these sort of attacks and then sort of, sit back down and let everybody come back, I think usually are counterproductive.
While that all went on, I think we just got a highlight here because Allison was inches away from crashing. Rick popped both his power-ups as he thought he was going to get dropped. You see wind at your back, you see weight lifted. But as they get to the top of the chicane here, Rick goes to the outside. And Allison, if she doesn't look, she just assumes the coast is clear. She goes one over and she goes, oh, there's somebody there. And that awareness forces out a non-mistake. A non-error there is massive for Allison to not having to burn her powers. But this leaves Quentin and Allison as the only two with their powers remaining in this race.
Yeah, but the power-ups aren't so strong that, like I said, you can't counter them with a big effort sitting in the draft of the person who's executing the power-ups. So it'll be interesting to see. Nobody's really trying to get away, which I would think, I tend to lean that way anyway. But when there's only 4 people in the race, there's not that many people to cooperate and chase with you, right? Chase you down. So I would be more apt to go for a break situation. But everybody playing it close to the vest here, maybe not wanting to burn a lot of matches on a 2x multiplier with 6x left remaining after this in the following 3 races. But a lot of those are high skill, right? You're not going to need a lot of energy in 3 and 5. So I think I'd be laying down the hurt in 2 and 4.
Rick now catches up to the front. I'm smelling a bit of a first seed upset here. Like first zone, and like right now I think all the cycling hub are sitting on their chair going, if Quentin is going out, oh my goodness, where will I sit come the end of the day? But lots of real estate left, lots of road out on course yet. But Frank, as a teammate of Rick here, he is really pushing the envelope every single corner. He is going to the edge. Is that something you discuss? Is that something that's a team mantra? Or is he just knowing this course so well?
I think... you jinxed him again.
Sorry, Rick.
you got the power of the cover jinx. But it'll be interesting to see how he responds to that now. If I was Rick, I'd probably just try and maintain my 3rd position. You're not losing a lot of points in a 2x. And come back, you don't really have the other power-ups. And he'll only be 2 points behind Ellison as it stands on the road, right? So he is 3rd on the road, 5 points behind Quentin overall. And so, really, I probably wouldn't burn a lot of power here. I think that's one of the things that a lot of people haven't thought about. There's only 4 racers. The spread in points isn't that big, right? Like if you make a mistake, even if you finish 4th, you don't get destroyed on points, and so you're still in the overall omnium, and probably not worth burning up all of the power. And so now it's just Quentin and Ellison, and we'll get a sense for how the legs work.
I think they're trying to work together here. Now that there's only 2 riders left on the front, it makes sense for them to secure the maximum points. Their 2 best riders in every zone moves on through the Saturday. So with Allison and Quentin up here the front, Homer crashing twice, Rick just gone down, I would assume that they now look to work together.
Quentin, right? I think if the other person isn't wearing a Cycling Hub jersey, there is no working together. And so I think that's just sort of how Quentin rolls, and I don't see them working together well here at all. And I don't know that they need to, right? Like, I mean, Rick isn't really laying down the watts to try and get back, and that's probably wise. Save that energy for a little bit later on. He's got to push a little bit, right? To make these guys work a little bit on the front. Now at the end, the interesting thing, these guys kind of handhold all the way through the 2X event. This is interesting to see how it plays.
It's also very major, depending on how Allison and Quentin finish in this one, because if Quentin loses to Allison, if Allison beats Quentin here, he drops him first down to 3rd here, leaving major points on the road. Allison using a power-up, and this is the final lap of racing here in Fantastic Alien Sea. There's only 1 kilometer and 300 meters remaining, and Allison, she wants to run away with it at the top. She's got a 10-point lead on Rick, but now, Frank, the equalized heart rates are coming up, the nerves are kicking in, the fatigue is kicking in, and I think today we could see some new power records.
Yeah, absolutely. And right now, if you're Rick, you're fist pumping, right? You'd already burned up your power-ups, and now these guys are really putting in major efforts to take the victory here. Certainly more important for Quentin, and you see him, really getting a good acceleration there to go up and get the gap on Ellison. But this really sets these guys up to have really burnt some big matches. And like I said, Rick's still only 5 points out of the lead. He comes back and he wins the next race, and I think he's on top.
The next race is a 2.5 scoring multiplier on Lakeview Lanes. Quinton is currently at 195. He was just a 197. If you do a cost analysis on your energy consumption here, interesting to see in the long run if it pays out. Now, every point does matter, and this victory is crucial. Difference of 8 points for Quinton and Allison. Allison sits comfortably in 2nd place. You can see her leaning into the corners, but with 200 meters remaining, it looks to be Team Cycling was Quinton Molyneux bouncing back from the previous stage to take in a win here, but he looks red, he looks a bit flustered, plenty of racing remaining. Allison crosses in 2nd and Rick in 3rd.
Yes, absolutely. Great racing by Quentin and Ellison. That being said, I think counterintuitively, Rick might be the overall winner in that one because he saved an awful lot of energy. I mean, he did not go into the hurt locker into that 190 zone, which takes a lot out of you. So it'll be interesting to see how Lakeview Lanes, but then more importantly, Dark Matter Spire follows up with that.
I can't wait to go talk to Quinton in just a second here, because that is a race that you got pushed to the limit by Allison Kubota, by Rick Woods, and by Homer Thompson. Homer just had another crash as well during the replay. He's going to have little time to recover between these events, as he's got to make sure to finish in amongst the events to join the next track. But Quinton, you took the win on last track. We saw 197 equalized heart rate. Are the legs coming back to you?
I think I just pushed them more away.
That does not sound good. But were you working with Allison once Rick went down, once Homer went down? You saw a 2-man group, or were you still fighting for the victory at that point?
I don't think we were. I don't think we were working together. When I saw that Rick went down, I knew that Allison would want to accelerate as well, because it's better to be top 2 than have a possible top 3. so I just accelerated as well, and I think we just kept the pace up until we were near the summit of Fantastic Galaxy.
It was really interesting racing to watch as there's only 4 riders in there. What's it like? You've got a long line, you were on the front. What's it like to be in that intense racing environment?
It's no fun. It really isn't. I get a feeling that I'm just being marked from start to finish. So it's going to be a tough one tonight.
That is the ups and downs of being the first seed. Comes with a target on your back. Good luck, Quentin. 4 minutes until the next race begin. Homer. Oh, my heart went out for you when you crashed the first time. Then the second time. And I did just see a third time towards the end. What caused those crashes on Fantastic Alien Sea?
Just not thinking. Actually, those were planned. I wanted to give everybody else a chance.
So what's your master plan? What's your master plan here? What's if you were just planning the crashes, letting everybody in, what is the strategy here? What's the magical conception you're going to pull out here to win on Lakeview Lanes?
The crashes should be phenomenal here for me. I should do really well in the crashes here.
It sounds like we should be scoring a different point entity at the top here. You've got
now you understand.
Now I get it, Homer. Well done. I mean, you still got plenty of racing left. 65 points at the top. This next one is 250. I mean, all or nothing in this one. Good luck, Homer, as we go back to Frank here and discuss the racing coming up here on the screen. As 3 minutes is up before the next race begins. But Frank, the top 3 are separated by 5 points. Quentin says he feels like a marked man. Do you think that is the case?
Well, he's top seed, so yes, he is the marked man. Marked person within this particular Omnium. One thing I would like to point out is only a third of the points have been scored so far in the Omnium. So 2/3 of the points are left. So Homer's not in a good position because he is 16 points back. That being said, there are still a lot of points on offer. And if he can string together 3 wins, he will certainly go across. And so it'll be interesting to see how things play. You hear from Quentin, these head-to-head or these 4-ups really do give you a lot of tension. And part of that is, you're done, right? You either advance or you're done here. And that really changes sort of the nerve level, the adrenaline flow, your ability to make mistakes. I think Quentin was exceedingly fortunate not to go down in Fantastic Alien Sea when Homer was on the outside of him one time. And that could have changed things dramatically. But as it sits now, Quentin, Ellison, and Rick, they're all within 5 points. So that just means any position difference will cause the flip. So they just got to beat their opponents, and they move right up to the top of the board.
I'd be terrified of Rick right now if I was Quentin and Allison on the top, because Rick just has this ability that when required, he can just turn it up a notch and really dig deep. If he can keep the crashing to a minimum here, I think he's in a good position to come back up towards the top, especially in this one, because I've just noticed, Frank, the wind velocity is 14 kilometers an hour. That smacks you in the face.
That hurts. It really does. And it really changes your perception of being out front. But that being said, now there's been a good rest period here, right? And we're early on in the Omnium. So it would take a while. But I think if Rick really applies the pressure here early and gets a separation and makes the others work to catch him, that 190s effort by Ellison and Quentin will come back to haunt them a little bit on Fantastic Alien Sea there at the end, right? So it'll be very, very interesting to see what Rick does here. But if I was Rick, I would just be going out and seeing if I can hold the gap the whole way to the end.
Now, the racing begins again in 10 seconds time. I do also love the fact that I know all the other zones are watching this, and they're starting to get a tiny bit anxious, get a tiny bit nervous, because then they realize, Oh, Rick goes down, Homer goes down, Quentin is in danger of going out, Allison looks really good. Oh, what am I, like, I'm up next, and speaking of up next, Zone L up next, Peter, Nils, Beth, and Kinjol. Do not miss that, as that racing begins in half an hour, but straight out of the gun, into the tailwind, it's Quentin Molyneux with Allison on the outside. They've got to dodge these obstacles that are on Lakeview lanes, but the wind here is going to be dangerous. Rick moves to the left. Oh, Frank, do you think they have practiced this course? Do you think they understand the corner speeds? Because the wind changes this dynamic.
It changes the dynamic a lot, and then you have these obstacles that pop up. And Lakeview Lanes is a newer addition, so people don't have a lot of practice. Even if they've practiced it, you're not doing it under race conditions, and certainly not under elimination race conditions, and certainly not under the amount of dollar pressure that's being applied in the CVR World Cup here. And you see Ellison says, hey, you know what, guys? I'm going to apply the pressure. So this is a very interesting move by Ellison.
Oh man, I saw the look on her face when she started sliding out. She's like, okay, I'll just touch the brakes on that one. I got close. And we got the replays here. She attacks on the right hand side, but you can slide out on these corners. And at 48 kilometers an hour, you can see her come on through, being forced to slow down to 47, 48, just to not slide all the way through. But she does have a 3-second gap on the rest of the racers. 3 laps. This is the highest scoring multiplier, and right now Allison Kubota is pushing and putting the pressure on the rest, and it's Rick Woods and Quentin's task to put it back up. But there must be a bit of poker here amongst them, because with so few racers, Frank, you don't really want to take up the chase.
No, you don't. So I think Quentin is playing it pretty wise. He's trying to get Rick to do all of the work here. Now, if I was Rick, this is interesting. I think what I would be doing is I think I would be backing Quentin off, and then looking to sprint back up to Ellison. If you get in a break with Ellison, she's just going to pull, especially if it's just 2 of you, right? She'll pull you all the way to the finish and be happy to do so. Quentin's not going to work with you very much, and so hopefully, he burnt a match in the last race, and you could get some separation that way. Oh, and that was so close. When they lean over like that, you're just like, are they in the right lane? And when you're riding, you have that same sense of panic. But Rick was in the correct lane, and we're all Grupo Compacto. It looks like Homer's off the back a little bit, but 3 seconds is definitely something you can make back. It's when it gets to about 5 seconds that I really call that officially a break starting.
Homer is at 190 equalized heart rate as well, so he's fighting to get back on. He's giving this his best shot. He understands that it's all or nothing here in Zone K. Either you qualify in the top 2 for Saturday, or you get to watch the rest on the bench. So you better leave it all out there. But Frank, what we're seeing now with 1 lap of Lakeview Lanes, Allison looks great at the top, and also the scoreboard reflects this with a 12-10 point lead depending on where second place sits. But it looks to be coming down currently between Rick and Quentin for that second spot.
Well, I think it's a little early to call that, right? Because the point scoring is so close here. This is a longer race. And so it looks to me like they're trying to do a little conservative hand-holding. Now, what's the dynamic? They've really got about a 5-second gap on Homer at this point. And so really this becomes a 3-up race instead of a 4-up race at this point, right? And so that changes the dynamics considerably. You just got to leave one person out. And if I was Quentin, now being a marked person is particularly dangerous.
I'm sorry for anyone that I do jinx today, because the moment I said that, Allison went from 1st to 3rd place and also on the Omnium. So if anyone does get jinxed tonight, I do apologize, but not much we can do as Allison, Quentin, and Rick come back together. And I mean, we're seeing some guttering in here. We're seeing some people being pushed up against the barriers to try and avoid the drafting as Quinten. Oh, every time in those corners you think they might go down, but now the three riders together halfway through the racing. This is the biggest scoring multiplier of the day. This is the biggest scoring multiplier in the zone of racing. This can change the dynamics at the top, but after this, Dark Matter Spire, 1.5, and then we finish on Country Rally with 2 scoring multiplier. Homer uses his power, but where do you go from here, Frank? Allison attempted to break away with Racer's Edge, but now they're all back together.
Yeah, I think this is turning out to be a lot more like track racing than road racing. So I think Ellison, did a breakaway, did a little bit of commitment to that breakaway, but I don't know if she, really sold her soul, right? Because, what you're thinking about because of the elimination aspect of this is, well, if I totally blow up and I go all the way out the back, I lose too many points. In this
Rick!
race. Oh, no, Rick. So this now puts Rick in a absolute world of hurt. And Quinten and Ellison should absolutely be working to keep Rick out of this. And then they're sort of solidifying themselves as 1 and 2.
Here you get the highlight once more of Rick going down. Quinten 2 spots over. Then he moves 1 slot in. And then Rick thinks the lane is clear, but he doesn't look. And he crashes down. And that puts him from 1st down to 4th. With Racer's Edge and Power Plant being activated, he can still get back in. But man, Rick is going to sleep well tonight when he goes to bed, Frank.
Well, keep in mind, he was never in the hurt locker in the last race, right? And so I think this is, interesting tactical maneuvers, but I would have been much happier to see Rick go from the gun and try and apply this. And then, he's not going to make that mistake because there's not going to be anybody there to have that mistake made, but he's going to make the others work hard in a disadvantaged position. It's much harder to work hard in a disadvantaged position that he's finding himself in than it is to work hard when you're in an advantaged position. When you're off the front, and you think you can hold it to the end, man, can you be super motivated, and you can really go deep into that hurt locker. But when you've made a mistake, it's knocked you a little bit off of your game, gets into your head a little bit, it's harder to maintain that suffer level. So it'll be interesting to see. He's going to get back here, but I think he's just really got to work hard and go right on by these guys and never look back. We've only got 2 kilometers to go. And, we see Ellison saying, hey, you know what? I just want to go through. And so I'm going to work on the front. And, Rick, you're not coming back.
This structure does favor Allison quite a lot, because the way she races, she always races like, right, I am all that matters, and I race in a bubble. And if you race like that and you don't make mistakes, more often than not, you will probably find yourself in the top 2. So we'll see if Allison can continue this trend in the next few races in this Omnium. But now, something that we saw in the last race, I asked Quinten, did you work with Allison when you saw the other 2 go down? And he said, no, I don't really think so. But on the flip side, I believe Homer and Rick, they will probably look to work together. They have a gentleman's agreement, I could imagine, once they sync up and knows, you know what? For either of us to go through, we need to get back up there on this high-scoring multipliers. You could just see Quinten at the top of the screen there. Not sure if that was a bit of nerves, but he was trying to move down before the barriers came in. But he moved 2 spots down, then 2 spots back up again. So he's not feeling too comfortable here, despite being a 186 equalized heart rate. But the 2 guys in the back here, they're making some inwards. They're going faster than the 2 riders in the front right now.
Yes, but Rick's just got to lay down everything he's got right now. Looks like maybe Rick's a little bit fatigued. We're sort of thinking about the fatigue of Ellison and the fatigue of Quinten and where they're at. But maybe Rick doesn't have good legs today. Or maybe he would have played it a little bit differently.
Last kilometer remaining for the front two. These points are vital for both of them to go on through. Can Allison extend her lead at the top, or can Quinton come back and take number one spot? 700 meters remain. Quinton at 440 equalized watts, trying to ride Allison off his wheel. We'll see if that is the better strategy here, that now that Allison is in the wheel, getting a bit of drafting if the wind is in the right direction. But you can see them side by side. Allison seems to be quite comfortable. She's rocking left and right, while Quinton's spinning that high cadence. He's feeling it side to the to head to the side. But further back, Rick is only 4 seconds back. If neither of them start sprinting anytime soon, he may be able to come over the top. But no, here comes the power-ups, Racer's Edge and Power Plant. And I think at the end, that Racer's Edge being kept from start to finish by Quinton is what's going to allow him to come on through here. But he sits down again. He doesn't want to go all out. 100 meters remain, and he just sprinted far enough to get a gap, and then he goes on to take the victory ahead of Allison Kubota. Allison in second place, but this completely opens up the positions now, as Rick is not that far behind. Oh, Rick goes down. We almost saw Quinton go down as well, Frank. He was sliding on through. He almost crashed before that corner, or in that corner as well.
No, I think Quentin just has the skill. It's why he was number one seed in this Omnium, and he is definitely in control of his destiny. He's got a good gap on Ellison. That last wreck really hurt Rick because he was very close to Ellison otherwise. Another 5 points, and he's really only sort of 10 points back with 2 races left, and he just needs to finish in front of Ellison both times. And, he takes the second position. Now he needs some help. And that's a bit unfortunate there. But my sense is he doesn't have great legs today. And so, he's pushing it, and that, that's the sense that I'm getting. And I think that's why he's going down. He's taking every risk that he can to maximize what his legs are putting out today.
We saw once here from Allison almost crashing out initially. We saw Quinton towards the end did have gritted teeth as he was sprinting on through, and then we saw Rick go down. Those 5 points could be detrimental towards his chances of going through, as Dark Matter Spire is up next, and we finish off with Country Rally as we watch the highlights of the sprint and Rick going down once more. But Quinton, that is the second victory in a row here. Back to the top shape. But once more, it was you and Allison at the top. We didn't see 197 equalized heart rate, but that didn't exactly look easy out there.
No, it wasn't. Definitely wasn't. And the last corner was pure luck. I completely messed up my corner speed. I thought it was a different corner, so I was going in way too quick. And I could just save it at the last second, so that was luck.
Well, sometimes, if there's a time to be lucky, now is probably the time. This week and next week, if you can just combine all your luck, it is now. But now you sit in the top spot. Now you are the one driving the pace. Is this just going to be more of the same for these last 2 races as we've seen in the prior 2?
I'm not sure, because, Fantastic is he was already a big match to burn, and Lakeview Lanes wasn't easy either, so I'm not sure how this race is going to turn out. I think we might see Homer on top here.
Oh, I like that prediction. Speaking of which, Homer Thompson getting dropped off the back again. I'm not sure I saw more crashes added to the points tally in that one, so I'm not sure whether to congratulate you or be sorry that you didn't get to move higher up in the standings. But you did come in third in that last one. Quinton thinks you'll win this one. What do you make of that?
Well, first of all, I'd like to thank Quentin for the kind words. I hope he's right, but we'll see what happens.
You still got a chance of making it back in. You've got Rick 6 points up ahead of you, Allison 20 points up. If you take this one and the next one, and maybe if a T-Kid's in, it could be you that qualifies on through, Homer.
All right, I take this one for you and Quentin then. How about that?
That's the spirit. Well, I'm pretty sure Mix and Chat all are rallying behind you, Homer. So good luck. Let's see what you can do in this low skill event. As we look at the finish one more time, we'll bring down the scoreboard and then we'll get Frank's opinion. Frank, we can see the scoreboard. Quentin 156, Allison 143, Rick 128.5, and Homer last place 122.5. How do you think this will finish off now?
Well, this is as expected, and Ellison will have to finish ahead of Quentin both times in the next 2 races in order to finish top of the Omnium. I think that will matter a bit for seeding, but other than that, I think that she's in a good position. She's happy. Rick needs some help. He can't just finish in front of Ellison, so he sort of needs Quentin to finish in front of Ellison, and Rick needs to finish in front of Quentin in order to get back in here. So at this point, I would say the top 2 seeds should look to work together and just solidify their position and hold on for the overall advancement.
Now, I believe the way in which the seeding on Saturday will take place, that there will be a reseeding. So, depending on how many points you gather in this, I think that's how you're going to be seeded on Saturday. So, losing a few points here and there could make the difference. So when you look at the playoff picture that is on CVRcade's Facebook page, once all the racing on Tuesday and Thursday is done, I believe that the events committee and the team committee will look at the seeding, look at whoever scored the most amount of points, and then do the reseeding based off that. So that can come into play, so you really want to try and get as many points out of this as possible. But Frank, there seems to be some love going towards Homer Thompson. Do you think he can pull this one off?
I certainly hope so. Homer is a crowd favorite. They just love to see him. We need to get him, streaming video more often and showing him off. He's just got a great personality, and he always can surprise you in any race. He can be super strong, and so we'll see if that ends up being this time.
Now, everybody's out for Homer Thompson in this one, but can he pull it off? Allison is on the screen. We'll go and look at Homer Thompson out of the gate. We've got 2 laps of Dark Matter Spire. Uncrashable is on. You get 1 Quantum Shift and 1 weight lifted. Rick Woods with a Quantum Shift out of the gate. What do you make of that, Frank?
Not sure. Not sure what to make out of that. I mean, you sort of have that to begin with, but maybe he wanted to try and get out front as well, or maybe he just fat-fingered it.
Most likely, as he's got the CVRcade controllers. Can I just say I'm not sure if it's motion blur that is on this track, Frank, but I really like the smoothness and the look of the riders as we come on through. It looks very different to the other tracks on CVRcade.
I think it's probably just a function of the background. It could be some post-processing in the graphics as well, but sometimes I think you just get the high contrast sort of with the dark tracks and the dark environment versus the sort of self-emitting colors coming off of the sci-fi rides.
Now, all together so far in the first incline of Dark Matter Spire, Allison first, Rick second, Quentin third, and Homer Thompson, who said he'd take this one for the chat, sitting comfortably in fourth. There's no wind, so sitting fourth does give you the highest drafting percentage. But who will be the first one to really launch the attack? Quentin and Allison are at the front, but it's Rick Woods who really need to try and step up and gain some points back as Homer is being distanced off here at the back. He's going to try and get back on, but it's not looking good for Homer Thompson early on into the race. But how would Rick get back up, Frank? Because he's currently sitting 167. He would need a lot to go his way.
Yeah, I was looking at some of the telemetry that we pick up and the amount of power expended. Rick expended a lot of power in the last race, so his legs were there. Just those mistakes cost him. Ellison has expended a lot of power. Quentin's a little bit off his game, so he might be right. His legs might not be all the way there. So if I am Rick and Ellison, I look to put Quentin in the hurt locker here. Your observation about the seeding coming up and it being how many points you score in the overall Omnium means that Ellison, instead of sort of just sitting in here and being happy to finish second in advance, wants to improve her seeding for the final tournament, where you actually win the money. So I think she'll look to finish ahead of Quentin on this track and the next track, and really I think she'll look not to have a sprint finish, but look to make a break happen.
And the seating quite does matter, because you either end up in the left side where Tim Fulford proceeds, but also in the way in which Saturday is set up, if you can land in the left side of the bracket, you do get an hour's rest between the semi-final and the final, but if you end on the right-hand side of the bracket where Moti P. Kelney resides with the first seed, I don't think there is a break between the semi-final and the final, so that is a major advantage that you can get by being seeded in a correct way. And so you want to try to get as many points you can out of this in order to get every advantage going into the finals on Saturday. That tournament is gonna be amazing, so make sure to set your alarm. I think we start with zone H and we finish with zone M or L towards the end of the evening, so make sure to be ready for that. But last lap coming up now. Allison looks cool and ready. She's used to racing 3 zones a day, Frank. Like, for as long as I can remember, Allison, you could depend on her for K, L, and T. Do you think that's helping? Do you think that amount of time in the game is really shining on through now? Oh, I'm not sure if we lost Frank.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. In terms of endurance is big in the game, and so having more endurance just allows you to burn another match, go a little bit harder, a little bit longer, those sorts of items as we work into these particular races. One of the things I'm interested to see is nobody is doing the rocket technique where they brake check and then go after an attack. You see Ellison committing attack here, and so I think she's going to say, okay, I'm going to try and win this one outright right here.
She needs to distance Quentin here because she is down on the points, and this is the first spot of 2 where she can do it. So early attack over the top, 192 equalized heart rate. I think mathematically she can almost secure going through here together with Quentin on this track if they finished first and second. So we'll see now if they can come on through. But Homer Thompson, the man, the myth, the legend here, with weight lifted, with quantum shift both being used, he wants to get back in. He wants to take one victory here from this racing, with him and Rick fighting 3rd and 4th. Also 3rd and 4th on the Omnium, but on the front, Frank, 194 equalized heart rate from Allison and Quentin. How do you think this one will end now?
I think Quentin's going to come around Ellison. If I'm Ellison, I absolutely throw a brake check in here and then do a sprint. But I don't think that's sort of Ellison's personality, shall we say. And I think she'll try and ride him off the wheel, but that's going to be very, very hard to do with less than a kilometer to go.
But she will try nonetheless, so she's now sitting on the front, continuing to ride. This is what we've seen Allison do every single time she's in the front on Kayla's Mountain Track, Roman Arena, on Temple Run. When she gets a lead, she just sticks with it, she rides off, and I mean, winning the stage, it may not be the best solution, but taking the points home on the scoreboard and securing that top 2 spot further in, it could be a clever move as we see them side by side once more. On Lakeview Lanes, it was Quinta Molinez who, by sheer luck in the end, did not crash and got the betterment of Allison, but Allison has won sprints in the past. Weightlifter from Allison, quantum shift, and weightlifter from Quinta Molinez, as now they go 200 meters remain. Allison still in the driver's seat, but the finish line is beckoning. 50, 70, oh, it's gonna be so close, side by side. Here they come. Quentin is running out of steam, and Allison Kubota takes the victory on the line. That was so close, Frank.
Oh my. That was exceedingly close, right? I couldn't call it there at the end. So an amazing sprint by Ellison. I take it all back. Ellison can outsprint Quentin any day of the week and twice on Sundays.
Oh, I just see that I have been put into Zone L as the next event, so we'll just make sure till we catch the finale on Country Rally to see who does end up winning the racing here today. I'm actually not sure if I'm able to get back into the racing. So making sure, have you been able to make it into Country Rally, Frank?
I have not. So I don't see it anywhere in my events. So I don't know if the racers are able to get in either.
Oh. Well, we'll wait for support from the team, but do stick around though nonetheless, because there's more racing after this. There's more racing happening with Zone L. Peter Kastrup currently sitting ready. Nils Heldens, Beth York, and Kinjal Desai ready with more racing as the next zone is ready to go. We'll figure out just exactly what is happening here with Country Rally as we're waiting 3 laps Country Rally, wind, flat tire, and uncrashable. But we're looking around, and it seems to be a few with technical difficulties, but that does happen. Luckily for us, at the top, there doesn't seem to be that much of a change possible with a 2-time scoring multiplier, as the biggest gap is 18 points near the top. Now, it could not happen. I think Allison has mathematically secured as long as she finishes Country Rally. So, what is the state, Frank? What is the state with the
I think we're
support
trying
team?
to get it. I think they're trying to get an event set up that everybody can just go to manually. Seeing what's happening there, I'll keep you posted.
Yep. So
because I think it. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to make an announcement because I know the racers are listening on to the broadcast. So if you heard that, keep an eye out. I think an event is being created for you to finish off the 5th track. Go ahead, Frank.
Yeah, so I'll keep you posted on that as well. So I'm in communication with the team as we speak.
But we've seen great things today. I think while the team figures it out, we can just go and get a word from
Maybe we just need to force start. Hold on a second.
Okay, well, hold on.
Nope, I can't because it's not showing anyway.
Well, we'll let Frank deal with it for the time being, and then I can get a notification from the support team while we get a word from Quentin Molyneux. Quentin, you really managed to shake things up there and change them around, winning on Dark Matter spot. Wait, did you just say you won? Wait. Can you tell Quentin, did you just win the last race?
According to my scoreboard, I did.
What? I had the side by side shot on my screen, and we can see the highlight when it comes up at the end of this reel. But it definitely looked like. Now, of course, it could be different from what you see sometimes to what's actually happening. So I guess congratulations are in order for winning the last race. But that doesn't take away from the fact that you said in the beginning legs were hurting. You came fourth, but then you came back. What was the turning point for you?
I think I just woke up after the first race, and I decided to just tell my legs to shut up, like some legend once said.
Well, it worked out for you, and I think both you and Allison were waiting for the 5th event to come out, the 5th track, but I think mathematically, especially with you winning, let me take a look at your scoreboard if that changes things. So I think it's still close, but I think going forward, you're definitely secured. Saturday, what do you make of that day of racing now, having qualified for that event?
It's going to be exciting racing. I knew I was qualified for Saturday before this race started by just 1 point or something. So I could relax a little bit more, knowing that I didn't really need to win or keep anyone in my sight. So that gave me a little bit more freedom and perhaps a few more watts.
Now, I'm getting contradicting, so I'm not sure. So, of course, always results are preliminary and they get officiated by the end of all this through cycle data, etc. I'm hearing contradicting statements that other riders are shown to win, because on my screen, you definitely did not cross the line first. So we'll just see, Quentin. I'm not sure what happened there, but I'm excited for Saturday. I hope you are too. Now, Country Rally, if we do get to race it, I mean, I've seen you do well on that track before. What's the thing about Country Rally that appeals to you?
The fact that you need to be on point for the whole race. So it doesn't matter if you're you're in first, second, third, or fourth. You just need to keep your mind focused at all times. Plus, you need to have the legs to back it up with power. So it's just the combination of both mind and power.
I like it. I'm hearing news that the 5th race for Zone K is ready. And I am seeing it on there, but it's at the end, so I'm not sure what is happening. Well, thank you, Quentin. We'll get the confirmation from Frank Garcia here. Frank, spoken to the tech team. What is happening?
Let me try something here. Let's see if everybody now... I think we created a new event, but we may have created it in the wrong spot. Everybody should be able to join the correct event now. I was able to find it and force the start.
There we go.
So they should be able to progress to the next event.
So while this happens, this means we're going to have 2 races overlap, but we're going to watch the end of Zone L. I do have eyes on Zone K. I do have eyes on Zone L, so we'll keep you updated, of course, as Kinjal, Nils, Beth, and Peter get ready. I see a few of them in the stream, but we will catch the end here of Zone K as... just seeing the scenery load on my side. Hopefully it does come in, because currently I'm just seeing blue. But having 2 races going on at the same time, that will be interesting to see if we can call both, because Zone L, another stack zone coming up with Nils Heldens, Kinjal Desai, Beth York, Peter Kastrup. I think more could be in store for more upsets perhaps in that zone. But let me see if I can just rejoin for the time being, because I am seeing just blue on my side. Oh. Nope. Of course,
I think you'd have to exit and get back in.
Yep, I am
on that one.
Trying. Do you think I have to restart the entire game?
Yes.
I will do so. So we're coming back in. Of course, CVRcade is in open beta. It's also free to play. So if you've actually been piqued the interest from watching the stream and you want to get on, there's no upfront fee. You can do free to play right now. Go to CVRcade.com, download it, hook up your bike, hook up your trainer, or just use a controller or your keyboard, and you can start riding right now. If you've been inspired by watching Rig Woods, Alison Kubota, Quentin Molanese, and Homer Thompson, well, all you gotta do is go to CVRcade.com, sign up, and get going in the racing. As you can see, the CVRcade World Cup is coming to an end here with the bracketed session, but I'm sure there's plenty of other racing coming up for you to watch and participate in the CVRcade calendar. If you go to the rules on CVRcade.com, I do believe also you can see the anticipated schedule of the CVRcade World Cup structure as we come back in. So we relaunched, we're back in, and yes, that did in fact fix the issue at hand. So 2 minutes remain, Frank. Country Rally coming up next. I do see on my scoreboard, I don't actually see a result from the last one, but Frank, could you give us a results update from what you saw?
So what I saw was it was Ellison, Quentin, Rick, and Homer, according to my data telemetry. And so that sets us up with Quentin at the top with 195, Ellison with 188. So a 7-point differential. The differential in points between first and second on Country Rally with a 2x multiplier is 8 points. So Ellison still controls her destiny here. And Rick's way back at 163 and Homer at 154. So it looks to me like we're just looking to see who wins the overall Omnium and sets up for the best overall position in the tournament this weekend between Quentin and Ellison. That being said, if Ellison were to crash and everybody in front of her, maybe there could be a swap, but I don't think so. I think mathematically she's set.
Well, I like to watch here the finish, because the top 2 seeds, they're going to be interesting. You heard Quentin say he was resting a tiny bit, saving up just to know that he did go on through. We do have the second zone as well, so we're just seeing Beth coming into the broadcast soon. We're seeing Nils, we're seeing Peter, so just understand that we're coming to the end of the racing here, but there's more racing coming up as well for you to watch live on here on CVR World Cup. If you are enjoying it, make sure to click that follow button down below as as more racing. We've got Zone K, Zone L, Zone M today, and then later on tonight, Zone S and T, that features common racers here like Casey Shum, Jennifer Garcia. You're going to see Ryan Goldenberg, Luis Sobranis, Aaron Starlin, and Nigel Doyle get into the racing as well. So 20 seconds left, and then we'll watch the finale here on Country Rally. 3 laps. Frank, there's not as many obstacles in this one because we've taken out a lot of the racers. How do you think that changes the dynamic of the racing?
It changes it a little bit, but not as significantly on Country Rally as some of the other courses.
As we now see Quinton attack off the front. All 4 racers have made it into this race here. You have 1 flat tire, one uncrashable, I believe, in this race as we now watch them get ready. They're on the side here. Quinton, Allison, Rick, and Homer sheltering. This first corner has seen some crashes, some by Frank Garcia, as we've seen on the stream before, and now they hit up to Bonnie the Barn Door. First spot between Quinton and Allison, but also more importantly, the points that come with it as 3 by a side here. Rick on the right, Allison as well in the Cognition kit. Somebody's going to hit the hay bales. Rick Woods, oh! That was a team maneuver by Allison and by Quinton, just forcing Rick into the hay bales and nowhere to go. Rick Woods crashes down once more today. Has not been his day of racing here. He's produced the watts, but he's fallen down a few times. Now, in the other zone as well, the electric rush race has just begun, and we will keep you updated on that one as Kinjal Desai has gone out to an early lead. As we go further up, Quinton Molinese versus Allison Kubota. Whoever, ooh, Allison getting a bit lucky. You can see Quinton with the head shake, thinking about the crashing. Could have been a crash there, but it was only a bump. 2.7 kilometers remain, and these two will be duking it out for the top seed. As while that does happen, I think we could just able to show you the other race as well, just to show you we do have the other racing ready. This is the other zone, Zone L, that we will cover in full after this, as you've got comeback kits being used all around. But there's plenty of racing left in that one. We will now show you the conclusion of Zone K, as Homer Thompson has hit the front for what seems to be one of the first times here today. Can Homer Thompson take a big victory here at the very end? That will be the question. Frank, I'm sure that everybody would love to see Homer take this last one.
Well, I think the other thing that's interesting here is if I was Ellison, I would want Rick in the mix here because any of these riders could play spoiler for Quentin. Right, they could take Quentin out, and so very interesting here. Ellison is in a bad spot right here.
Oh, but so is Homer, because last time they came on through, Rick was in that exact same spot, and he did go down. But this time, Allison comes through, Homer on the left, he moves on over and avoids the hay bales. The last race has Zone L, the first race has just concluded. Peter Castro winning that ahead of Nils Heldens, with Beth York in third and Kinjal Desai in fourth. And they now get ready in 4 minutes time to watch the ending, watch Fantastic Alien Sea. But we still have 1.5 kilometers remaining here, and it's still Homer Thompson on the front.
Yeah, so this is very interesting. If I'm Quentin, I'm nervous having Homer in the mix here. Now, Homer's a good guy, so I don't think Homer would do anything torrid in terms of taking Quentin out. But it can be also inadvertent as well, right? You're close quarters, and you could go down. You could get trapped in a bad lane. All of those things could certainly happen.
He comes on through for the last lap of racing. He moves to the right to avoid the lock here. Quentin on the left. They do have flat tires. They do have power-ups available. Rick has used his flat tire, but these at the front here, they've got theirs left now. Who will use theirs and how and when? That's the question. Last lap coming up here. Homer on the screen. He's been in a world of suffering and hurting here, but now he can see the light at the end of the tunnel. He's got a chance to raise both arms above his head but he's going to need to execute because he's up against two of the finest CVRcade racers here in an environment that they both thrive in. Can Homer Thompson do it? Allison sits down in third, and she's just waiting there, Frank. She's not quite attacking them yet.
Yeah, this is interesting. Maybe she is happy with second position, this being the last lap. I think she must have some power-ups. The question is, when is she going to use them?
Oh, Homer and Allison, both of them almost just touching wheels there. Could have been a disaster for both of them. But now they're gaining some time again on Quinten, taking those corner speeds a bit higher. But now you really want to be in that first spot here. You want to take every corner first on through. You can choose the lane as now the bots are also coming into play. 500 meters remain as there's 1:50 until the next zone gets underway. Allison Kubota with her flat tire. Quinten pops corner caper. He was aiming for the flat tire, but he fat fingers it. And this opens the door for Allison and for Homer. But I don't think Homer has used his just yet. He is down in third place. He's got an opportunity, but Quinten, no corner caper. So sorry, it's corner caper. As here comes Homer with his. Will it be Homer Thompson's day? The speed differential is high. He's got corner caper as well. He comes on through. 200 meters left. Quinten has accelerated back in. He won't even need the corner caper. Allison uses hers as here comes Homer Thompson on the inside. But no, it will be Quinten Molyneux once more here in Zone K, with Homer Thompson taking second, Allison in third, and Rick Woods in fourth.
And the zone ends as advertised.
Oh, that was good racing. That from all four racers, congratulations. I mean, that was really exciting. Thank you for making an awesome race. Quinten, Allison, from preliminary results, do qualify on to Saturday. For Rick and for Homer, there's always next week. But you made the racing awesome as we now get ready here for Zone L. So we'll just get a quick chat with Quinten as we get ready for the next one. Quinten, taking that final victory. But you hit corner caper early. What did you think of that?
I fat fingered it. It was just a big mistake. I knew I had to wait for Allison to blow hers, and then I thought I had my finger on the right number, but I didn't.
Well, now you can rest up assured. You don't have to race Thursday. On Thursday, you can sit back. And for the rest of the day now, you can also sit back and cheer on your friends and teammates. So congratulations, Quinten. Good race. I'll let you cool down as the racing now begins. Peter Kastrup, Niels Heldens, and Beth York will be on the stream, and they will also be joined by Kinjal Desai out on course as they get racing here, Frank. This first race was won by Peter, with Niels in second and Beth in third. What do you make of this? Because this is a very different selection of riders compared to the last zone.
Yes, I think if I'm Beth, I'm happy I'm ahead of Niels, because that would be the person I would be marking. Peter, favored person in the zone, and I think this is just down to Beth not making any mistakes to make it go on through. So I think Beth has the power, the ability to suffer, all of that, but sometimes she lacks a little bit of the skill, and she goes down. And as we've seen, that cost Rick big in the last zone, and so she's got to stay upright here.
I think for this zone, the name of the game is the pressure. For the last one, it was definitely crashing. Like, the crashing, maybe not knowing all the corner speeds, maybe trying to overcompensate for mistakes, but the pressure in this one, going up against Peter Kastrup, that when turned on is dang on near impossible to beat, but it is possible if he cracks. Kinjal Desai, she's never really been in a high pressure situation when it comes to racing like this. She's already at 199 equalized heart rate, so she's feeling the burn. But then we look between Niels and Beth. Beth has gone to multiple CVR World Cups, and we'll see if Niels Helden's young rider, very strong rider, but Frank, there's a lot of pressure when you're racing with everyone watching you, with the money on the line, and it's win or go home.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I think one of the things that holds Peter back is he crashes a little bit more than maybe you would expect, at this point for his level of gameplay. But He's very strong, so he's got sort of the suffering and the physical endurance to do well. And so I guess it becomes a matter of who makes the mistakes mostly in this zone. And Nels is a newer rider, so he's apt to make mistakes. So I think this will be interesting to see. I think it's just who makes fewer mistakes wins the day.
Oh, those zones are always the best to watch, because you get prime time television here of CVRcade racing as now Peter goes on to the attack, and you just see riders push each other to the limit and just say, I know the exact corner speed, but do you? We're seeing an early attack from Peter, 43 kilometers an hour. Nils quick to close it down, and Beth just off the back here, as she is now gonna have to know, does she know the corner speed? Is she comfortable? It is a medium skill event here on Fantastic Alien Sea. You can crash on these descents, but Frank, she looks cool, she looks calm right now.
Absolutely. A little bit of a head tilt there, which means usually that you're starting to enter the hurt locker, but she's under control, she's calm, and you've got Peter on the front with the lowest equalized heart rate, and then if you're Beth, I think I would be trying to get in between Niels and Peter, and really put Niels into the hurt locker with some gapping maneuvers. Otherwise, what's happening is Beth is getting gapped and having to work her way back.
I think Peter's wheel is a tough one to keep, because with his very iconic technique and style, it's just like this rubber band. Like, that person you hate to sit on the wheel in a group ride who just can't keep a steady pace, that goes off the front and back. In my group rides, that's me. But in this case, it's just Peter who's just accelerating and dropping, and then that really plays into Peter's hands, because he's just comfortable doing what he's doing, but it doesn't really allow Beth and Niels much of a break here, because they have to fight every single time Peter accelerates. They have to do the same. But Frank, we've seen with Peter before, he can be very, very dominant early on, but then it kind of catches up with him later on.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm continuing to watch this, and Beth keeps getting gapped. If I am Beth, I'm going to do everything I can to get in between, so that at least if I get gapped, I gap Niels with me. He's got a higher heart rate than I've got, but my heart rate's starting to climb and get near his because of the gapping that's occurring. And of course, you've also got to be careful here, because this is not a low skill event, and crashing will happen. You can't just sort of force your way in, but certainly, I'm always amazed when people have power-ups at their disposal and they don't use them sort of at the critical moments. It's like, I'm going to save it to the end, and that's going to be a critical moment. I know there's a critical moment coming at the end, and yes, the finish line is always a critical moment, but usually you're going to win the victory, and we see this all the time other than the low skill events. Usually the no skill events, usually you're going to win at a Y in the road much earlier than the finish line, and that's the point where you can use your power-ups to the greatest effect.
Especially in Fantastic Alien Sea, where the final stretch is only like 100 meters, 150 meters, so you don't have much of a chance to really rev up the engine and use those power-ups. But now we're seeing Peter let go of the front and Nils come on through, but they're at 196, 191, Peter at 183, but I'm not sure that does tell the entire truth of Peter Castor right now, as he continues to build up that lactic acid, doing these short effort bursts, but that just comes back to bite you later on. But Nils, 195, Beth 192. Does this just come down to whoever can suffer the most right now?
Well, I think they're definitely trying to prove me wrong and show how skilled they are, and that they're doing well skill-wise here. Now, I'm interested in what's happening, and I think we see Nels trying to sort of go to the front and do what I'm talking about, but nobody's looking to get the gap. They don't want to burn their power-ups. It would appear nobody's looking to get that particular gap, and it's funny. I sit here and I almost find it a little bit hard to watch, and because I'm like, somebody use your power-ups, get away, make something happen. instead of hand holding. But as we saw in the previous zone, this is a little bit more like track racing than it is road racing. Everybody's sort of holding their hands, even though they're, in the hurt locker, and that's certainly climbing. But I would definitely be looking to force Peter to make some mistakes. Peter's one that if you cause him to use his power-ups to chase, he's liable to go down in a corner, right? And so, you got to look at what people's strengths and weaknesses are. And I think just sitting in and riding.
Oh, Beth! Oh! Let's have that on the replay again, because I think she just I think she turns inwards. We just get to see her out of the frame here. I'm not sure what happens as she was sitting well, and just as she comes into the frame here, let's keep an eye on what I think she turns inwards, Frank, when there's a higher speed that she's running than the inside lane allows.
Yeah, that's just really unfortunate. My heart goes out to her. There's 2.6 kilometers left. All's not lost here because this is only a third of the points, right? So she's in Rick's position in the last zone. It might behoove her to sort of conserve energy at this point. And Kinjal's way back, so that's not a worry here. And just conserve energy for the following races. The other thing is, you could use all your power-ups and try and get back, but that's a lot of matches burnt. So unfortunate to go down there, but the game's not over, so to speak.
You did say it was a game of mistakes, and that's just a mistake you can't afford to make. Turning inwards on a corner you've probably done over 100 times in your CVRcade career. You know the speed, you know exactly what you can do, but in the heat of the moment, you've never been pushed so hard in a high-pressure environment. That mistake. Now, I do agree with you, Frank, that what we saw in the last zone, it's only third place. Like, you're still getting solid points. Next up is Lakeview lanes, 2.5 score multiplier, and there the gap between first and second is significant. She's only 9 points down on Nils, so there's still plenty to go for, but that can change here as the two Dutchmen on the front. Another aspect of Peter, as you were mentioning before, causing him to make mistakes using power-ups. On Dustball Crit last week, I remember seeing Timothy ride us outside, and Peter is very happy. He's very trigger happy on the corners. He went down and he totally quit the race. That's another opportunity you can do as Nils now goes on to the attack, Frank.
Yeah, absolutely. This is interesting. So I like this play. I'm not sure it's the smartest play, but I like the play. And the reason I like it is what he's thinking is, you know what? I want to be more point separation from Beth. I've burned all my matches. I'm at 198. I'm deep in the hurt locker. But if I win the race, then I am in much better position than if I come second, because at that point Beth is just, she can just finish in front of him in the next race and be in second position. So I like this. It's a little bit of a gamble. It's a little bit of I'm going to roll the dice, but it's a very, very effective play.
100, 200 equalized heart rate. Nils Eldens is hitting his max, and I think this is a statement. I think he watched the preview that Beth, Victor, and I made the other day, and he went, "You think Beth is going to go through over me? Watch this!" As he goes to 200 equalized heart rate. He's in a good position here because he's doing exactly what you said, Frank. Use the power-ups to put pressure on Peter Castro, force him into territory that he doesn't like to be in, and right now the advantage is towards Nils's favor because that final corner, it doesn't allow for much speed coming out of it. And I'm seeing Peter on the back here. We see him on the screen. I think he's liable to make a mistake on this final corner coming up because it's very tight, and he's pushing it because Peter is not happy with second place. As you can see, 200 meters remain, and he forces the mistake out of Nils instead.
Yeah, I was like, that was brilliant gameplay by Peter. Really set that up well. He trapped Nils on the corner there. Nils needed to make a little bit of a sprint ahead of that, or move to the outside even. But that sets up. But very, very interesting. Peter and Nils both in the hurt locker, over 190 on the heart rate, equalized heart rate. Beth down in the 160s, 170s. Just has to, finish out the race at this point. She should have very good legs by comparison to everybody else coming up for Lakeview Lanes.
You're watching the replay of that fantastic move. Nils perhaps doesn't expect Peter to get back so quickly. And from being at 200 to crashing out like that, it'll be interesting to get his thoughts on that move and the values of it. But Peter, congratulations. I saw you won the first race. You've won the second here. For once, Peter, you were the one forcing a mistake on another rider. You sat on their tail and made them crash. How does that feel?
Feels good. I learned from the cycling hub guys. So, yeah. In Holland we say that we give them a cookie of their own dough.
I mean, I'm going to have to save that one. That's a next level save. But you look good today, Peter. You come out, the legs look fairly good. Did you wake up today thinking, you know what, today's my day?
No, never. You should never underestimate other riders. There's still 3 races to go. Anything can happen. So last race was tough. Niels was running strong. I had to give everything to get past him. So not sure what will happen next, but we'll see.
What do you make of the competition here? Because you did just speak briefly to Niels making the last race tough. You're in a group with Niels Heldens, with Beth York, with Kinjol. What do you think of your competition today?
They're strong. It's very different with 4 riders than in a bigger group. In a bigger group, you can sometimes sneak away at the front, but now everyone's on your wheel. It's much harder, so tactics become more important, I think. And I hope I can nail it. So, but it's tough, yeah.
I'll let you get back to it, Peter. Congratulations on the win in the previous race. Nils, second place in the first one, second place in the second one. You're gathering points, but you hit 200 equalized heart rate. How guttering was it to go down in that last corner?
I wanted to block Peter coming into the corner, but the moment I wanted to do it, I saw it was too close. It would crash anyway. So I decided to take my chances and brake. But that obviously didn't work either. It wasn't nice, but seeing the gap to Beth being at 49 seconds, it wasn't a complete heartbreak, let's put it that way. Up to now, good points, form is good, legs are good, so ready to roll onto Lakeview Lanes.
That's all you need to know. In the last race, you got a chance to watch the racing unfold. Already one Cycling Hub team member is on through to Saturday. Will you be the next one?
Hopefully. Obviously, the competition is quite strong. I think Beth still has something left, and Peter obviously has good legs. But still 3 races to go. We'll see what happens, but hopefully I'll make it through.
Do you have any of the Cycling Hub boys giving you, like on Discord, talking you through it, giving you information, or are you just listening to music?
Not at the moment. I'm listening to Sabaton, which isn't very family friendly and doesn't fit the stream quite well, so I won't repeat the lyrics. But yeah, not at the moment. And I don't like having someone talking to my ear during the race, anyways. But we'll probably make it happen for another race, maybe later.
Well, good luck. 14 kilometers an hour win coming up. Beth, last race. That crash. Oh, Frank had just said, comes down to can Beth stay upright? And then 5 seconds later, you went down.
And I didn't even get to hear him to blame the curse. No. So in my outdoor riding, I tend to accelerate through the corner. I was trying to get in between the riders to close the door on Peter, and I changed lanes at too high of a speed, which is a common mistake for me because my intuition is, all right, there's the open lane, I'm going to go around them. So sometimes finding that instinctual move in the game is a challenge for me. And then I decided, have at it, boys. I have 3 more races ahead, so.
Well, speaking of which, 14 kilometers an hour wind in this next one. Quinton almost crashing in the last corner. Did you learn anything from the previous zone?
I always learn it. It's whether or not you can actually incorporate it and execute it, and internalize it. So hopefully that works. Hopefully, I was able to absorb the learning.
Well, Beth, I'll let you get back to it and prepare for the galing tailwind you're going to get out of the gate that soon turns out to be a headwind. Frank, we've seen the racing. We've heard from the racers now. Kinjal, of course, not in the broadcast today. Plenty of racing up left in this one. You asked for Rick to take the bull by the horns in the previous zone. Is that the same stance you have towards Beth in this one?
Yes. It doesn't sound like anybody's listening to me today, but they're racing and I'm not, so they're take what I say with a grain of salt. But yes, if I was Beth at this point, the other two people were deep into the hurt locker. They've had some time to recover, so they're going to hold my wheel for a while. They're going to be able to go hard for the first half of this race, but I'm going to look to put them back into the hurt locker and see if I can ride away. And I only need to ride away. I only need to ride Niels off my wheel, right? So even if Peter comes with me, that's okay.
I think something we haven't seen today from the first zone, but we could see in this one, is power-ups out of the gun. We see it's very powerful on rhythm lanes and rhythm tracks. Here, if you use it, because you only need to decentivize the group to work together. If you can make so that they all look towards each other to do the pacing, you're off the front and you're gone. And that's what we haven't quite seen yet here, as the three out here get out the front, and Kinjal choosing to stay with the butt patrol. Brave choice here in a three-up race, but perhaps one that could come in later on, Frank.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think, again, what we're seeing is the fourth seed not being too much of part of the action in this zone, right? And so you really have three-up racing here with just one getting eliminated, and that really kind of hurts. That's kind of like finishing fourth, right? I'd rather finish fifth or third, but fourth just always makes my lips pucker a little bit in terms of where you're at. And being the only person with a shot who got eliminated also will smart as well. So it'll be interesting to see how this plays.
Beth now here in third place, 500 equalized watts. She's finding herself again just in this position of not really getting much of the draft. And you can see the two Dutchies, they're used to having that wind in their face on riding outside. But Beth letting the gap get open here a tiny bit as she has to fight through the draft and get back on touch. You do have one racer's edge and one power plant. Last zone, we saw Allison try to use it from the gun, but it didn't really pan on through. We saw Quinton use it at the end where he did win this track, but almost crashing out. But now they're just trading blows, and already at this point, Niels is at 194 equalized heart rate. How much of that is nerves?
I think a lot of that is nerves, but enough of it is, energy as well. So, at this point, and I don't know if Beth's having some dropouts or some mechanicals, or if she's bumping into people in the back here, but I don't know that she's getting enough benefit from the draft, to be able to sort of be hanging back here. But she's certainly got Niels up there in the extreme hurt locker, and I guess as long as he's going to go to the front and do it, I'd let him do it for the first half of the race. So I'd modify my what I was talking about earlier, because if he's going to burn himself up in the first half of this race, so be it. I'd let him burn himself up and then put him back into the hurt locker. But you've got to be ready to make him suffer at the right point in time.
I like Peter. He's listening to some music. You heard Nils say it's not family friendly, but we all know that Peter likes his old school music. He likes his heroes, as he said. That's what he turns on when he needs to go out of the gate. He's sitting side by side with Niels. He made Niels make a mistake. I love Frank, because for the longest time you said, watch out guys, watch out. The strategies you deploy in the open session, in the bracketed session, they can come back to bite you when the racing turns hot. Now, the crashing that was done to Peter, or like the mistakes that were forced upon Peter, he's learned, and he's now forcing that upon Cycling Hub.
Yes, so I think it's sort of the new economic theories that are developing. They're not really that new, but in terms of economics and history and all of that, they're certainly newer. But really, it's about how do you maximize your return over a long period of time? Not just the one race, right? But how do you maximize over all of the races and over time and get people to cooperate with you?
Oh, Peter went down. That can change up the whole Omnium from first to 30. Let's have that up on the replay. Sorry, Frank. First lap, we saw Nils almost crashing on this exact same spot. Now, this time around, because it's such a new course, I don't think Peter understands quite where to be. He's safe where he is, but then, Frank, he changes over into the obstacle.
Yes, and that's actually easier on this course than you would think. I mentioned in the previous zone, this is a newer course, and as a newer course, what you have here is you're just not really comfortable with what lane you're in, and when you lean over, you're like, oh, I'm in the wrong lane, and then you switch, and then you're like, oh no, now I'm in the wrong lane, and it's too late.
Oh, Kinjal has made it back to Peter as well, so Peter is in 4th place now, and Kinjal is a threat. Like, when Kinjal gets happy and she finds her flow and she just rides hard, like, I think this could be a major surprise and a major shake-up of the standings. We just saw them for a second on the screen there. Peter is currently 2nd, but he is losing out on a lot of points to Beth York here. And I think many had Peter going on through here, but the highest scoring multiplier of the day, he's in trouble.
He's in trouble, but Beth's got to get in front of Niels to really put him into a spot of bother and really make this close. So all of the spots of the racing are very, very interesting. They've got a good 16, 17 second gap on Peter. That's going to be super hard to bring back, especially if Beth gets back to the wheel of Niels. And I would be selling my soul. If I was Beth, and she's at 191 in the heart rate, so she's definitely doing a maximal effort here, and this will be very interesting to see how this plays on the next course, which is all about legs, right? It's a low skill event. It's all about the legs, and Beth should have the upper hand over Niels there. So very, very interesting to see how that develops.
The last race, though, the last event is Country Rally, and Beth has done so well in that recently. Peter has struggled a tiny bit in the past, but he has found his form recently. I'm really fascinated to see how this ends now, because this has kind of fit the storyline of Peter Castrop recently. Comes out guns blazing, first 2 events, really does well. Then one mistake, one forced error, and suddenly he tilts a tiny bit. It's like, oh no, not this again. And some people, they have the ability to shrug it off and go, nah, you know what? If I just do my job, if I just do what I can do, I can power on through. But some racers, it gets to them, and Peter is one of them, and I honestly think he is in danger here of losing more points to Kinjal.
Oh, if he lost points to Kinjal, that might set him on tilt. But I don't think that's going to happen. But maybe because Kinjal is, staying close to him, right? And so if you're Peter, you're like, just go away, just go away. And she's not going away, and so you have to contend with that. And so what happens is Peter might be trying to save his legs for the later races, but Kinjal is going to be like, no, you can't, because I'm going to pass you by.
Well, for Kinjal, this is a massive moment. I mean, you've done so well that I know Kinjal First 10 is a very happy racer. She enjoys racing on the platform, and now she has an opportunity to take points away from the #1 seed. Now, knowing her, she's going to be giving this everything. Like, this is the equivalent for her of winning in this Omnium right now. She can take points, and she can be up there with the very best on the platform. And if I'm Peter right now, I'm thinking, why did I ever crash? I'm putting myself in a world of hurt here for the difference of a few points near the back. That one crash could be all the difference, but Niels smiling all the way to the bank, as now we have on the screen here side by side Niels and Beth York on the screen. So these two are fighting it off at the front. Niels is at 6-second gap as Beth uses her power up, but Niels looks quite good right now, and this puts him at 153, but anything can happen. I'm really liking these 4-man Omniums, Frank.
Yeah, they really developed some interesting dynamics. And if Ken Jol gets in front of Peter, Ken Jol has a shot of moving up and finishing second and surprising everybody and going ha ha ha. And so that motivation still exists out there. It would be hard for her, and she'd have to do well. But Country Rally is a high scoring multiplier, and it's skill based. Like, people can crash. And things unexpected can happen. As Peter crashes here. He looks golden, and then he crashes here, and that changes everything.
700 meters remain. Nils has got a 10-second gap now on Beth. I think Beth is just locking in and making sure that Peter Castro does not get back, because he's using his racer's edge now to try and get back on terms with the front group. So he's using his one power-up, so he's got available alongside Power Plant to get back. But I think this is more to keep Ken Jol at bay, because the 20-second gap up to Beth with 500 meters remaining, he will not be able to close. But that does secure his third spot, unless Ken Jol has got her power-ups and she's ready to come over the top. But Niels Heldens makes this 2 for 2 for Team Cycling Hub, winning on Lakeview Lanes. He was second in the first two races. You heard the confidence, the swagger he was having in the interview. He feels good today, and he really wants to come on through. As we're seeing, there might be a bit of a technical glitch for Beth. She's actually at 0 kilometers an hour, or she may just be resting. I'm not sure what is happening, but Niels will go on to win Lakeview Lanes. Does his Sebastian Vettel impression. But Beth is having a technical difficulty here. So close to the finish line. 10 seconds. Can she get on through with the time? She is obviously not happy with the technical difficulty. We go back and see with Peter. I think Peter, I'm not sure if he'll just let Beth cross the line first or what is happening here. But Beth snailing across the finish line. Peter looking at the screen. Can't quite believe it. As Ken Jol crosses over the next. Frank, what's the policy on technical difficulties?
Technical difficulties are part of the game. If I'm Beth, I'm hopping out and I'm making sure my ant works in the next event, or get back in. That happened to me the other day, and fortunately Beth had enough of a lead, and she was able to limp across the finish line in the positions that she was going to have. So the officials won't have to make any calls on that. But Peter almost made it back, and that would have been. I would have wanted to talk to Beth after that had that happened.
I think Peter also saw it, and he could not believe himself, because the face he made as he crossed the finish line is absolutely golden. But Nils, congratulations. Lakeview Lanes, 196 equalized heart rate once more. You really come out to play here, shutting some people up, taking that first spot, but still plenty of racing left. But does that leave you with a good feeling going into Dark Matter Spire?
Obviously this is a no skill event, so no crashing, so I won't have to worry about that. Obviously the previous race does a lot for your morale coming into the other races, so I'm excited. Like as Frank would say, the sensations are good, so let's make the best of it for the next two events.
I like it. I did briefly see Quinton join in to spectate the previous event. Was that to help you, or do you think he was just keen on seeing your progress?
Well, I think he was just curious. So, like I said in the previous interview, I'm just listening to music. And it's pretty hard to communicate when you're at that heart rate and at that power. So, but we do have the group chat, which I read after the races. And that's why it's been quite positive, so I haven't done a lot wrong, which is good.
Well, you gotta stay on that track, because two tough races are remaining up next. So Dark Matter Spire, good luck in this one. Let's go talk to your countryman as well. Peter Castro, your face as you crossed the line, seeing Beth limp across the line was amazing. But if we go back in time, that crash, you were in the right lane and then suddenly you weren't. What happened?
I was going too fast. I slid out in the corner and I didn't expect it. So I just crashed into the barrier, and that was it, really. So I wasn't changing lanes or anything. I was staying on the inside. So goes to show that I never studied the courses. And now I'm paying for it, but it's okay.
Quite literally paying for it, but we'll see now, Peter, because there's more racing coming up. But Beth is pushing if she can fix her technical issue. Kinjal, was there ever a point in that race when you think, oh gosh, Kinjal, she's just keeping me, she won't let me rest up, she's keep riding near my back, I could lose points here?
Yeah, she did. She came up to 2 seconds, so I had to push a bit harder again, but then I got a gap again. And it was okay, and I nearly finished in front of Beth, but I kept my legs still because I thought she deserved second place. I didn't want to pass her just before the finish because she had a technical issue. So I was hoping she would cross the line before me, and she did, so that's good.
Great sportsmanship from you, Peter. Thank you very much. Good luck and get ready for the next race. Beth, I'm not sure if you've solved your technical difficulty. We'll just get a quick word, but Beth, I don't ever see you animate. I don't ever see the smile the upside downwards, but that last kilometer, oh my goodness, I was feeling for you.
Frank called it. I was having like some power drop, something weird was happening, and I couldn't quite sort it out. And then my lights in the house were flickering. So I blew a circuit breaker from all of the power, I just have to say. Niels and Peter are drawing the power out of my house. So I couldn't reset the circuit breaker because it's pitch dark in my basement. All this is unnecessary information, but I'm back, and hopefully I don't blow another circuit breaker.
That is next level. Next time you should connect a toaster, so in between the racing you can just have a bit of a snack, you know, pedal powered.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and a coffee maker, and, air dryer. Oh boy.
I'm not quite sure the watts required to power all that, but yeah, I'm sure Beth York, you can do all of it. 1 minute remaining, Beth. You're looking good.
Peter. Thank you, and thank you, Peter, for being a good sports. I was like, no, is he going to cross? And so, thank you for not taking advantage of that moment when you could have. So, good man, CCC team.
I'll let you get back in and get Sen as the next race now starts in 50 seconds time. But Frank, what do you make of that sportsmanship? Would you have done the same thing in that situation?
Gone as hard as I could to clinch my position. This syrupy, good sportsmanship stuff.
I somehow knew you were going to say that, but nonetheless, I am happy.
Wow, that's all I have to say. No, I like good sportsmanship. Wow, I guess I have a reputation I'm developing. That's not good.
No, I'm not sure. We'll see though, because now hopefully the technical difficulties have been solved from Beth York, but the racing gets underway. This one, albeit only a 1.5 score multiplier, you need every single point. For Beth here, it's pretty much win or go home for the for the ending of the night here for her, for her, Frank.
Yes, she really has to hope it goes Beth, Nels, Kinjal, Peter. She doesn't really need Kinjal in the mix. She just has to finish certainly in front of Peter. And so, we'll see how she goes. I'll sort of be watching her for that stuttering effect that was happening that I saw in the previous race. And you see Peter is out here saying, you know what? I went down in the last race. I got to conserve a little bit of energy. I'm going to make this one hurt really bad.
I also think he's like, right, I was a sportsman in the last one, I was a gentleman, but in this one, I am turning that cap the other way around. I want to be the one winning this race. So from the gun here, really pushing on the power, and he's riding away, and this is what we've seen for Peter. When it's all legs required, when you can suffer, that's where he really shines on through. But what about Niels Heldens? In a moment like this is where you test your true character. Can you suffer on through? Because every position you lose to Beth here, she may be able to move on over, but 196 equalized heart rate, winning the last one, doing major things for his morale, having the chat, listening in, giving him encouragement in the group chat as well is a lot of help. But Beth just losing grasp here. Could this be the end for her, Frank?
If she doesn't get back on, this will definitely be game over, sayonara, go home. At the top, you have Peter and Niels separated by 0.5, half a point. at the top of the standings. This could work to Beth's favor, but she's got to get onto those wheels. I fear, though, that she might be still having a little bit of technical difficulty, and that's why she can't maintain the wheel, because you're on the wheel and then you have a little bit of a dropout, you drop back off, you get back on, you have a little bit of a dropout, and so if that's occurring, if she's having a little bit of an ant dropout problem, and maybe her the electricity in her house is frizzing out, she needs to call Ghostbusters or something, but that'll really make your day very, very long.
Meanwhile, though, on the front, the position for the top seed is getting close, because Peter and Nils right now are only separated by half a point here. Major complications and implications on the racing here for Saturday. Whoever gets that top seed, whoever scores the most amount of points, is favored in the bracket, and both of them knows it, because they're not just racing against each other, they're racing against the rest of the qualifiers. They understand that, right, I can win this, I can qualify, but I can make Saturday a lot easier for myself. On Saturday, if you go all the way through to the finals, you will have ridden 3 Omniums in the span of 7 hours, or even less if you have one of the later qualifiers, and that by no means is easy, Frank, because we've seen 2 Omniums, like we've done K&L, but we've never seen 3 Omniums really like that.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting, and it definitely looks to me like Niels has peaked here, right? A great peaking. Now, does that last through Saturday? Or does he start to come on the downside, the far side of the peak? And so that'll be very interesting. But otherwise, he's going to be a force to contend with on Saturday.
But we do see Peter Kastrup now, when the low skill event is on, with fewer races like this and no team orchestration to really bring him back. He's just from another planet. Like, the ability he's got to go this quick and make Nils suffer, make Beth suffer, make Kinjol, who is riding with the bot patrol here, really suffer on through. It is not easy to follow Peter Kastrup when he is feeling it, but something he's got to be wary about is that we've seen the tendency for Peter to suffer more in the second Omnium, and I can only imagine what a third Omnium for Peter would feel like. You can qualify on through, but the Saturday racing is just so different. But if it does end like this, Frank, with 1.5 kilometers to go, who does this favor on Country Rally?
Wow. That is what's a little bit unfortunate for Beth, I think, in terms of the technical difficulties, because I think it would have favored her. And I have to say, I'm going to go with Nils here over Peter, because Peter just has, we've got corners named after Peter. So, his crashing is legendary, and therefore you'd have to assume that he's more likely to go down. But, this is high pressure, people putting out a lot of effort. And so, this becomes very, very interesting. It looks to me like 0.5 point will separate them, going into the next one. I think Peter is ruining the day that he went down in the previous event, because I think he gets a much higher seed if he doesn't go down in that event, and he is able to win that as well in terms of overall points for the Omnium. And so this is interesting. And what we're seeing in these races, which I think is an interesting dynamic, I'm going to have to cogitate on it a little bit, is we see a lot of hand holding at the beginning, and sort of everybody together, but towards the end of these races, there tends to be quite a bit of separation.
Now remember, guys, we've got one more zone coming up after this. Ben Shuilon, Kayla Laguna, Christian Weidman, and Vanessa Murahan are going to take up in Zone M. It'll be the final race here in this set of races today. We've got more tonight with SNT taking place 7 hours from now. But Peter Kastrup, Nils Heldens, first and second, and looking poised to qualify on through to Saturday. But who will take the top seed? Who will take the most amount of points? Every position matters, and they know it as Peter puts on the headset. Nils in second place. He looks to be peaking for this, but still just being gapped off by Peter Castro. Kinjal and Beth here fighting for secondary positions. I really wonder what Kinjal could do if she's really nearly there, but she's just missing that final bit of lethal power to get towards the top. But she's definitely spending the energy at 201 equalized heart rate as she's pushing on through, and Beth Yorick completes the event. But Peter Castro, you see him once more. He's in first place, half a point ahead of Nils, and Country Rally will be the decider. Both of these two Dutchmen have struggled on this course before, and I cannot wait because this is going to be highly technical with a flat tire and corner caber available. But Peter, congratulations. You came out of that like shot out of a gun. Like, you came out and you were ready and you just wanted to apply the pressure. Was that due to the frustration of what you felt could have been on Lakeview Lanes?
No, not really. Like I said before, these 4 rider races are very different. So you have to think more about the tactics you're going to use. And I knew my legs were hurting, so I guess the legs of the other riders were hurting as well. So that's why I went fast from the start. See what happens.
That is next level strategy. I mean, that seemed to have been true as well, both Beth and Nils suffering. But Country Rally now, Peter, I mean, high skill event, the pressure, the best seat at the top, the points. You've done well on this before. I remember seeing you do well. What about today?
I don't know. I'm not I can't see the future, so can't tell the future. So sometimes I do well, and sometimes I crash 3-4 times. So it helps that there are not a lot of riders on course. So chances of crashing are smaller, I think. But yeah, you never know with me. So we'll find out.
We will. Now, we've also got Nils in the broadcast and available on audio. Did you think when you started the day, Nils, that it would only be half a point between you and Peter Castro at the top?
No, but I definitely thought about a different order, which would be in. But Peter is doing very well today, and you know, you need to get what you can get, and if that means that you qualify in second, well, you qualified in that case. So I'm not too disappointed in myself, not at all really. But obviously half a point now. Let's see what we can get on Country Rally.
We've seen you before on Country Rally, 6th, 7th, being very cautious. Is that going to be the same approach you take here, or will you be a bit more gung-ho on this one?
Well, the thing is, it's a shorter race this time. It's only 3 laps, so you won't lap the bots, which is a massive advantage. You have only 4 riders competing, which is also an advantage. You can go a bit harder. You have less of a chance of getting blocked into a certain lane, for example, with the hay bales. So I don't know really. Well, I guess you have to see in a bit.
Oh, I like it. I'll let you get ready and get set. And we've also got Beth, but we'll let her get set as 50 seconds remain. Frank, you've already made your earlier prediction, but Country Rally, it's your bread and butter. We have flat tire today. That is a power we don't often see, and especially not in a course like Country Rally. How is that most used efficiently in racing like this?
Well, one would always think that it would be used at the start, and it often isn't. So I think advantage goes to the bold here. I would definitely be using the flat tire probably 5 seconds after the start, going hard, and then using corner caper through the first corner.
I'm reading... Oh, never mind. I do see it. I was just reading some messages from the support team, but all is good. We get going. I did also hear from a racer the other day with some strategies that what you can use the flat tire for is a crash averter. As Beth gets used hers, but Nils uses his at the same time. And they actually take out each other's power-ups immediately. So both power-ups gone, and that leaves Kinjal and Peter with their power-ups left. But if you were to crash, if you were to hit a hay bale, you can actually get a free pass and make everybody else crash with you. So if you were to make a mistake, the flat tire power-up kind of functions like an erase slate for everybody. But Peter on the back here and Nils, who we usually see on races like this, kinda hesitant, kinda at the back, but I think the racing today must have given him some confidence. It must have given him some assurance that he's actually a really good racer and he knows the courses, he knows the tracks and how to move on them. Because, Frank, confidence is a major factor when you're racing CV Arcade.
Absolutely. I often call it rhythm, but they kind of go hand in hand. You can't have rhythm if you don't have confidence, because you start wondering, do I need to be one lane over? Am I in the right lane? Should I move my lanes? And once you start doing that, you lose your rhythm, and then you'll make a crash. And as people often say, crashes beget crashes, right? They come in bunches. When it rains, it pours. Whatever cliche you want to use, but it's certainly true in CADE that once you lose that confidence and once you lose your rhythm, it starts to become very, very hard, and it takes time to get it back. Like, you can get it back, but it takes a few laps to get it back. And there's only 3 laps in this one, so if you make a mistake, confidence will not come back until tomorrow.
And the first lap is now being concluded. Kinjal is in the mix here on a high-scale event. She's finding herself second place in between Peter and Nils Helden. She's still got her flat tire. Peter still got her flat tire. And the majority of them, I think all of them, still have their corner caper power-ups. As there goes Peter, his flat tire. Will there be a counter one from Kinjal? No, there will not. So this is Peter's move. Flat tire is gone, and he is now going to attack away. But he's got to be cautious that he doesn't overcook the corner, but he uses corner caper. What do you think of this move, Frank?
Good use of power-ups. I might have waited a little bit, but he definitely got the gap. He had Nils on the inside, and I think he could have just held him there and ran him into Barney the barn door, and then used his power-ups. After he got back up to speed, use your flat tire and then move away. But Peter says, "Look, Frank, I've got a 5-second gap, and I'm going to complete this to the end and show you that I was brilliant in my use of power-ups." And he's, it certainly looks good at the moment.
I think it's definitely made mine, but I'm sure it's also made Mixer's chats day hearing Frank say Barney the barn door. So Mixer didn't give the name for the barn door. Now it's officially being adopted all the way to the highest chart. So thank you for that. Nils does still have his corner caper available as Kinjal crashes further down, allowing Beth to get back in. Her day has been plagued with mechanical difficulties, unfortunately. But now, for the last lap of racing here at the front, Peter and Nils fighting for the top spot, wanting to get that better seating going into the racing this weekend. How do you use that corner caper if you're Nils? Because most people wait for the final turn. Is that the most efficient way?
No, right now I would be sprinting my heart out, and I would get absolute maximum speed before I hit the dirt. And then as soon as I hit the dirt, I'd be clicking onto corner caper, and that will maximize my speed through the next 2 corners and into the barn, and that's usually where you can make up the biggest advantage.
You see, not doing that this time. He's at 197, but he's still gaining time. The gap is now 3 seconds. There is the opportunity with the power up here from Nils Helden. It's been a battle of the orange. Netherlands here, 1 and 2, fighting for the spots. Nils opts for the right-hand zone as the bots ahead of Peter go down. I can just see out of the corner of my eye that Kale Laguna and Ben Shuilong are also getting ready for the next zone. So don't go anywhere. Zone M is coming up after this, and we'll find the last 2 of this streaming session that will qualify on through to Saturday, and we'll find the next 4 later tonight with zone S and T. But Nils still not using the corner caper, still saving it, and he's running out of real estate. 500 meters is remaining, and Peter is still on the front. 4 seconds, 3 seconds. When will Nils do it? He's got one hand on the keyboard, changing lanes. There's a butt in the way now as well. It's less than optimal, but Nils is on the the limit. 197, 198, and I think time is running out for the Tempest here to overtake Peter Kastrup. The Flying Dutchman takes the Omnium victory, unless a last-second corner caper from Nils can make the difference. But this last-minute attack, it will be all for naught as Peter Kastrup takes the victory here on Country Rally. And as usual, no celebration whatsoever from the Flying Dutchman with Niels Heldens. Overall, just happy to qualify on through. Beth York, Kin Jolt finishing third and fourth. Kin Jolt was up next, and Beth a day plagued by mechanical difficulties. Was a crash in there as well. But Frank, Peter Kastrup wins.
Yeah, absolutely. I thought Nels maybe didn't have the sprint in him because he was at 197. Definitely a mistake to save it there at the end. You can certainly go much faster than the other people can go in those earlier corners. He could have used it after the hay bales as well. Sort of sprint through the hay bales. That would have been a little bit risky, and then pop the corner caper to get through that one corner. But you want to look where you can get the maximum speed differentials using your power-ups, especially corner caper, than other people. That last corner you can go through, you can take at speed pretty much anyway, so you don't really get much of an advantage from corner caper there. And so I think Nels will have learned from that and deploy appropriately on Saturday. But great racing. They both scored a lot of points. And I think Peter could have been maybe top seed, save that crash, top seed on Saturday. Well, third, I guess, because you already have the top two seeds on Saturday. But I think they could have definitely been, much higher up in the standings. He scored a lot of points.
Peter, you heard what Frank just said. A lot of praise coming your way. Scoring a lot of points. Could have been first seed. We've just got a minute here, so I'll make it quick. I know you had family plans for Saturday. Are they now cancelled?
Yeah, kind of.
I do not blame you.
I'll be racing on Saturday, so happy with that. So very
good news.
Cool.
I will let you get back. I want a quick word as well with Nils because we've got Zone M starting in 40 seconds. Nils qualified on through. I'll be the first to apologize for the remarks in the preview. Congratulations, man. How sweet does that taste?
As sweet as my gel I took before the race. It feels quite good. One quick note on what Frank said in terms of the use of the corner cape. I wanted to use it in the second to last corner, because you can't use it that quickly. That was the main purpose of it, for the second to last corner, not the last one, because the last one you can take at speed, of course. That was my reasoning, but obviously great to qualify for Saturday. Hopefully I scored some good points compared to the others. I've seen the other zones, and I wouldn't want to be in them, to be honest. So, yeah, really happy to qualify. That's all I can say.
Well, congratulations, Nils. Enjoy the shower and the rest, and I'll see you again on Saturday. Now, Zone M has just begun as we concluded those interviews. Sorry, Peter, for cutting you short, but we're short on time. Ben, Kayla, and Vanessa. Now, this, Frank, is an Omnium that's close to your heart. You've got great friends, Kayla and Vanessa, in here. What are we in store for?
I think we're in store for really the Ben and Kayla show. Here, and with a couple of cameos, a couple of solos by Vanessa, as you see her, going off the front here, so she can display her jersey and get time for her sponsors. But I think what you're going to see here is who can score a lot of points to go ahead and advance into Saturday.
I think
with a really good seating.
I think Vanessa is a dark horse here. I honestly think Vanessa can take this Omnium, so solo cameos, I don't know. I think Vanessa is a threat, especially on Fantastic Alien Sea, but we do see Ben off to an early start here with the sprint on Electric Rush, with Kayla just taking second place on the line there. So bit of racecraft may be lacking from Vanessa, but the power is definitely there as Kayla not too satisfied, but secondary on Electric Rush. But yes, Frank, there's a lot of points on offer here. here. Somebody could theoretically walk away with all 5 stages here, which is the same for any Omnium really, but the lack of Christian Whiteman, unfortunately a schedule conflict, making him unavailable for the racing today. But Ben, it's good to have you in the stream. Did you get a chance to watch the 2 earlier zones today, and did that perhaps calm the nerves?
Yeah, I did. I did watch some of it. I missed the Electric Rush races, and I was thinking, tactically, to have 2 or 3 people with the comeback kid, it's super tricky. Because if you attack early, then you leave yourself open to the retaliation with the comeback kid. And I think, thankfully, Vanessa just went on the front fairly early, so I just tried to keep her half wheel ahead of Kayla, so that I could then hit the power up and try and put away from Kayla. So yeah, it sort of worked, and hopefully not spend too much energy on that little sprint there. So we'll see how it goes.
So now it's finally tournament time. We've raced time and time again, and I know, especially for you, how much this means to be racing competitively at this level now. You see Christian Weidman doesn't take to the start line. That must open your chances, but you're up against Vanessa and Kayla here, 2 good friends. Are you scared they might team up on you?
Yeah, well, yeah, that's it. It's a sort of double-edged sword, really. On the one hand, there's only one person going home, so to speak. But yeah, I was a bit worried that the CVRcade duo might play a bit harsh on me. So so far so good, but we'll see what happens. And yeah, if there's any blocks coming, I'll have to do my best to maneuver around those and try and turn them into my advantage.
Thank you, Ben. You hear that, Kayla? We got Ben preempting, just discussing if there may be some blocks coming his way as you've got Vanessa out there. Is there some pre-race chatter from the 2 of you thinking, I'll scratch your back, you scratch mine?
Yeah, we're just going to try to play this one evenly across, just because we got, it's just Ben, myself, and Vanessa in this one. So I'm going to try to do some positive racing in here and just see how it unfolds. But just kind of focusing on ourselves right now at the moment, and then just making sure that we're just taking it one race at a time.
Spoken like a true professional. I'll let you get back in and get ready, but here we go, Frank. 3 up racing as we've seen today, with the 4th seed struggling a tiny bit. I do like the choices of words from both Ben and Kayla. I say, Ben, are you scared going up against the 2 riders? He's like, well, there's going to be perhaps some blocking. Kayla goes, well, focus on positive racing. I think this could get a bit dirty. What do you think?
Well, we know that Kayla can block. The question is, can Vanessa block? I think that's going to be the real key here. Can they put Ben in a bit of a world of hurt? I think Vanessa's got a huge sprint on her, actually. Maybe a little low on the endurance side, but she's got a huge sprint, so she could absolutely block Ben, do the block it rocket maneuver from Johnny the Rocket, and gap him off the back and sprint back up to Kayla and then work together. But we'll see how they play it.
You can also tell a tiny bit, usually Kayla is very upbeat and happy in the stream. Seemed a bit intense in the last one, thinking, okay, it's showtime, it's time to go, it's all or nothing, we're in the tournament, there's the money, there's the pride, and there are all these things on the line. You've worked so hard, and now when you are here, it's time to show up. So Kayla out of the gun, weight lifted being used here. When there's only 3-man racing, Frank, this is what you've been wanting to see today. Try and just ride off the rest.
Yeah, absolutely. I think what you see her doing here is really, let's just go to the front, let's hammer, and let's leave everybody else behind. You see Vanessa sort of just monitoring her pace here, and Ben sort of sticking on Kayla, and I really think this is about scoring a lot of points. So it looks like Kayla wants to put Ben into the hurt locker, and it looks like he's about to be there.
What this is going to do to the seeding on Saturday is that it's going to change it all up, because those riders that came in as first seeds in the other rounds that are heavily contested, such as the Zone of Death you're going to see later on tonight, Zone T. I mean, you can score a lot of points, but you are a first seed coming into the racing this week. But then depending on how many points you score on Saturday, you may be a third or a fourth seed. So there's going to be some heavy racing earlier. It's going to be perhaps a bit front loaded with the early Zones of Doom on Saturday, but I cannot wait for that. But now, two riders in the front, Kayla and Ben, with Vanessa off the back. We've seen Vanessa have a breakout performance on Fantastic Alien Sea, but here she's been caught in the wake of Kayla's early attack here, Frank.
Yes, but look at Vanessa's heart rate. She's got a lot to give here. This is a long race. There's not a lot of people, right? There's not a big blob getting a big pack effect. So she's only 5 seconds down. Definitely could come back, easily. And I don't even think she's used her power-ups yet. So Vanessa might be laughing all the way to the finish line here.
That is a funny thought as she's going to come around. But Kayla and Ben looking at each other currently on the front. Kayla putting down a bit of the pacing here. I would have thought, Frank, as a team leader that you are of CVRcade, I would assume that Kayla with Vanessa off the back would just say, right, Ben, your turn to pace. Yes,
or if you're Kayla, you could be slowing things down a little bit to let Vanessa back in, right? And you're doing it at sort of the level that's hard to tell, right? So Ben can't quite tell. Am I weakening you because you're on the front pulling, or am I sort of playing poor tactically and by letting Vanessa back in? If I'm Ben, I don't think I want Vanessa back in, for sure, because while Kayla has called out that it's going to be positive racing. Things often change in the heat of battle.
That is also next level strategy. I did not think about the perceived cooperation on the front while the other rider goes, oh, this is nice, I'm getting a draft. You're just slowly pulling on the brake, waiting up. So 3 riders here, all still remaining. We've got 3 laps of Fantastic Alien Sea. You've seen it twice already today, Zone K and Zone L. Zone K, we saw Quentin come back to win that one. And then Zone L, Peter Castro pulled on a great block on Nils Heldens to force him to make a mistake. But on the descent here, we see Vanessa in 3rd place, and from her point of view here, she's taken a conservative approach as Kayla crashes.
Yeah, that was an absolute mistake. You could see it coming. They were coming into the tight corner, and Ben's going to be the one laughing all the way to the finish line here. Both Kayla and Vanessa going down. Vanessa giving up the outside to Ben there. Ben overlapping the wheel. I'm going to call that the Peter Castro maneuver. He's going to hate that because he wants that to be called the cycling hub maneuver, which is probably where it deserves to, where the name deserves to be. But now that really smarts. Now you've got Ben out front. He's in the clear. His chances of going down are, really quite low. And I was going to say one of the things that Vanessa might be thinking is you two are in tight quarters and might make a mistake where I'm out here riding in the clear, but Vanessa face planted in that last corner, so that's gonna hurt her there as well.
By the end of the CVRcade racing journey 50 years from now, I cannot wait to publish the Peter Castro dictionary of CVRcade. Like, imagine the amount of things that are going to be named after Peter Castro. Peter, we love you with all our hearts. Thank you for making these streams more and more fun to watch. But something I'm picking up here, Frank, is like the intensity on Kayla's face. Like, she's like, you never see this from Kayla. She's always got a smile on. She's always bumping around, but like she looks like she could kill someone right now. Oh, not sure we lost Frank on that comment.
Oh yeah, no, sorry. You did. You lost me. But yeah, no, Kayla, I'm sure. If she wasn't on her bike, would be pounding her fist into her desk at the the mistake and what it's costing her here. A lot of points on offer in this one, and I think it would be really, really good for Kayla. I think she's got an actual shot at the overall on Saturday, but she needs a good seeding, right? Seeding is going to matter on Saturday, and so you really want these points, and you can tell that both Ben and Kayla want these points, as we've seen in all of the previous zones. This one, you go into the Hurt Locker, you go into the 190s, and you go from there. So I didn't notice, Jesper, maybe you caught it. Did she use her power-ups to get back on? I don't think she has.
Kayla has not used her powers, but she did use a weight lifted from the beginning, so she is one down already on Ben. So she's got a wind at her back remaining, but when she uses that will be key. You do have the wind changing directions, so you want to try and use it in a headwind. But another note to Kayla, she's also a fierce competitor, and so being in a situation like this, because she has won the head-to-head tournament on Saturdays before, like she thrives in this kind of environment, so she understands that making a mistake like that can cost you, because as Frank, you mentioned, the seeding on Saturday is all same. But look at Ben, like he is not exactly going easy here. 199 equalized heart rate, he is rocking left and right, and there's still another lap to go here, Frank.
Well, I think Ben's a student of the game. Obviously, he builds tracks and what he understands from the previous zones. I kept saying in the previous zones, well, maybe you can get back. Maybe you can get back if you save your energy. No one has been able to get back. You win here, and you are set up well for winning the entire day. And so I think, what he's thinking to himself as a student of the game is, you know what? I win here, and Kayla's not coming back. I'm going to score the points. I'm going to get the great seeding on Saturday, and that's what he's looking to do.
Now, seeding does help you, but it's not everything. So how much do these riders think about recovery time? How much do they think about, if I go hard today on Tuesday, that leaves me a few days on Saturday? Are they still thinking about what they might feel in their legs?
Well, I think, it's interesting. If I rode on Tuesday and I rode hard, I think I would get back on my bike and do one hard effort on Wednesday and then rest Thursday and Friday and go hard on Saturday. If I raced Thursday, then I'm obviously going to take it easy and do everything that I can to recover. But both offer some, pluses and minuses. You might take Wednesday off as an example and do maybe one hard effort on Friday to open yourself up. But I think what you have to do here is win on Fantastic Alien Sea, which I think was what Ben's going to try and put in the bank.
Would you say it's an advantage to race here on Tuesday and getting that rest time, or would you say it's an advantage to race on Thursday and come in with racing in your legs?
It really could go either way. I think I would prefer, but only just slightly, to race on Tuesday. But it can set you up funky, right? If you didn't race between Tuesday and Saturday, that would probably be a mistake. Your body probably would have shut down its super hard efforts, and you would just find your legs to be a little heavy. You wouldn't be, as we say in cycling, open on Saturday. You'd be a little shut down, and then you'd make the hard efforts on Saturday, and then Sunday you'd be flying, and so. That makes Tuesday a little bit difficult because you kind of don't do the same kind of efforts. Whereas on Thursday you're going to make those efforts. You're going to make race level efforts. You're going to have 48 hours of recovery, which is more than adequate for the type of racing that we're doing for sure. And so you probably set up really, really well for Saturday. That being said, if somebody really manages it well from Tuesday, they should have a little bit more. But again, it's not like we're doing a 6-hour climb up Alpe d'Huez here, right? It's something that you probably have more than enough in reserves to handle Saturday. Although Saturday is going to be big, right? It depends on how much fitness you've put in the bank as well.
Well, you never know. They might just put Sakalobra, the mountain track, the only mountain track I believe in the game, on the rotation on side. I don't think they'll do that, but that would be funny if the grand finale happened on Sakalobra, a 45-minute true cycling climb. But to your remarks, Timothy Tamot reached out to me because he's racing on Thursday, and he's like, Jesper, I don't know what to do. Do I race Tuesday, a physical replay? What do I do? And I'm like, just do like you always would. Just keep the norm. Don't go out of your way and do anything drastically different. You've raced for so many weeks now. You raced 7 weeks, 8 weeks. Just keep doing what you've done, and then you will know exactly how you're gonna feel come race time, because you have done it so many times before, and we'll see if that is the case. But Ben Shuilong, 14-second gap. I don't think he's been forced to use a single power-up in this event here, and he's gonna win by 13 seconds down to Kayla, taking 60 points in this one, winning the first and second, and setting him up nicely. But the second spot, Frank, is still very much up. Kayla, Vanessa, 9 points between them. I mean, Vanessa could come on through and take that second spot.
Well, I think Kayla's going to look to put the pressure on Ben in the next 3 races and come out on top. She's very competitive in nature, and so you'll see her go after that as well. I think with Vanessa sort of behind Kayla, it'll be interesting to see what kind of tactics come to play, but I can't imagine that Vanessa would look to push Kayla at this point in time. But she might look to, get in Ben's way in some positive sort of way. So Vanessa just went down, I think. So she that last corner has proved difficult for Vanessa today on Fantastic
funny.
Alien Sea.
I like also.
But yeah, no, I think.
Go ahead. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I like Ben is a rider who's only recently really come into success at the top end in these races, and now we finally get to see him celebrate. Even when he won last week on Dark Matter Vela, we didn't see a celebration, but today you see the shirt, you see a little bit of a pull, and so I do like to see the embracing of, yeah, I can do this, I get to celebrate too. It's not just the Caseys, the Franks, the Peters, the Nilses, I can do it too.
Well, I think one of the things that you see developing, and Ben is a great example of this, is there's a skill arc, and it's quite extensive in Cade, right? Like you get in and you're like, oh, it's just switch lanes and some corner speeds. It's not going to be that hard. It's a little frustrating when you crash at the beginning, but the how you go through a corner, and we saw it in a previous zone where, do I brake? Do I not brake here? And I think it was Nels who chose to brake. Well, when you brake, you slide out a little faster, and that caused him to slide out into Peter and Peter to smile. And, all of these things in terms of the skill sets you develop over time and you learn and experience teaches you. And then there's power-ups. And, at first you don't even really understand power-ups and you don't know what they are. And then you sort of understand them at the one-off level. And then you start to understand, the combos of power-ups. And there's debates that sort of rail on about when power-ups should be used. Should they be used at the beginning? Should they be used at the end? And even in the last zone, I got a chuckle because the debate raged on. I had a view of how the power-up should be used, and Nels is like, no, this is what I was doing. And that's the fun part about power-ups. But used in combination, they can be exceedingly powerful. And so you get this arc of skill. And what you see happening with Ben is he is on sort of the steep part of the arc, and so he's learning quickly. And so he's the person who was always the bridesmaid, or I think he was finishing third a lot. Well, he's liable to win the overall Omnium today. He's liable to be a top seed in the tournament on Saturday. And, some people are going to want to be like, yeah, he's not really there yet. And I was like, no, he might really be there. And, he might surprise you completely, right? So I don't think that Ben was previously mentioned, sort of in the context of the Tims and the Modis and the Peters and the Sebastians previously, and I'm kind of liking him now for the overall. Kayla, I think got a little bit overtrained and suffered a little bit of injured reserve illness, maybe due to that. And if she recovers enough, then I think that she definitely has a shot. She certainly has the strength. I think she would have been up there in the context of the heavyweights previously, but I don't think so much now. But where I expect her to be maybe surprisingly good would be in the grand finale, because she'll have a little bit more rest, a little bit more time back on the bike, and she could be very, very surprising in the grand finale.
The grand finale, of course, happening after this week, so next week. But Ben, I did see you blushing a tiny bit in there when Frank goes, you know what? I think she can take the overall. He's up there with the Tims, the Motis, the Sebastians. Do you need a moment to compose yourself?
Yeah, that's exactly right. I don't know. I'm not going to get carried away. I'll just focus on the Omnium. That's the main thing right now. So
well,
I'm just thinking.
Sorry, go on.
Yeah, what am I going to do this race? Tactics, power ups. We'll see what happens.
I love the fact that you celebrated this one, because Doug Matavello, it was like, oh, I'm too scared. Yes, I take the victory now. But I think we need to work on your game, because just puffing the shirt, like, we need some more emotion in there. So potentially, you've got 3 attempts here of nailing your celebration game. You can't be up there with the Motis, the Tims, and the Sebastians, and the Franks without having a proper celebration game.
Okay, well, if I have enough time to think of something, like I did in the last race, I'll make something up.
Well, don't worry, you will definitely, most likely, totally not be judged on whatever you come up with if you do go on to win a stage. Best of luck, Ben. Quick word from Kayla. Going down in the previous race, Kayla, fighting back on. Will you make up for that mistake in this next tough race?
Oh yeah, definitely gotta make up for those last 2 races. Not the happiest of my results, but I gotta give my hats off to Ben, because that was such a smart play. It was not smart of me to go on the inside lane, especially on such a tight corner like that. So just really high level racing right now, and I need to get on it, because we only got 3 races left. So, but hats off to Ben, who's racing very well, and this race should be interesting with Lakeview Lanes.
Well, I'll let you get back on it. 30 seconds remaining. 14 kilometers an hour. Tailwind, headwind, and crosswind, depending on where you are. This will be a tough race. But Frank, any celebration suggestions for Ben? Any inspiration you can help him out with?
So I have a funny for you. I used to hate, sort of celebrations and, dancing in the end zone, and, after you get a goal, all of the thing that athletes sort of do. And, I grew up in an age, so this will show my age and how old I really am, when, that wasn't considered good sportsmanship. But I love dancing on camera when I come across the finish line first. And so I hope everybody enjoys that a lot when they cross the finish line. Now, I would mention to Kayla and Vanessa that I think Ben crashed Kayla in the last race. So I think turnabout is fair play. Just saying to Kayla and Vanessa that that is certainly potentially a thing in this race. And you see Ben, it's like, no, it's not. Catch me if you can, but you can't crash me if you're behind me. But that maneuver of hanging out on the outside of somebody is turning out to be a great maneuver in Cade, and it's a great maneuver for 2 reasons. One, it works better against the more advanced player, and the reason it does is because the advanced players know the corner speeds, and they tend to go through them sort of at the maximum corner speed, which means they slide out from the beginning of the corner all the way through the corner to the edge as they exit. And so they're sort of planning to slide. And so if you get right next to them and they kind of don't notice it, and you notice how it's been being played lately, is you don't really stay right next to them the whole time, because then they know to slow down. But you kind of stay on their back and then kind of come around them just a little bit at the last moment, and then they go to slide and you take them out. And so that's a maneuver that I think we're going to see a lot of, and it could be a $3,000 maneuver. It could be a $5,000 maneuver. That wouldn't surprise me at all. And it'll be interesting to see the debate that follows that, if that occurs, because that will frustrate you. Let's just put it that way.
But I think the Castrop maneuver, as it will definitely be called from now on forward, I think...
my.
Oh, it has to be. It's just on so many levels that works. But
You're
I think...
just cruel. You're just cruel, Jesper.
I can only say it because Peter is such a good guy, and he gets it, but Peter, you have a Castrop corner, and now a maneuver, what possibly could be smoother. But I think that, like... It works this round, Frank, but the rate of which the gameplay is evolving, and especially now that there's money on the line, I think riders will learn that that doesn't work. So in this specific environment of 4-up racing, I think riders will stop, sliding on through the corner, and they will just make sure to brake before, because the sliding through the corners, etc., is very good when there's multiple riders, but with fewer riders, crashes mean more, and so I think we're going to see riders. But what that means is, what next maneuver is it going to be? When are we going to see the block it, rocket maneuver? Because we haven't seen it yet, we haven't really seen a brake check, but you've done it to Timothy, Jonathan Heron has done it to God and everybody in CVRcade, but who's going to be the first one to do it?
I don't know. I think they're sort of developing, within the community these standards of what fair play is and what sportsmanship is, and that sort of thing. And I think blocking is starting to be maybe frowned upon a little bit more than otherwise. You can see Kayla setting up here, I think, to try and get Ben to make a mistake as well, but. So it'll be interesting to see. So I think maybe people are a little bit shy about using it. I wouldn't be shy. This is a game. It's part of the gameplay, and it's something that that people are going to use. Now, that being said, we also know that a gameplay change is coming that will make that not work in the same way after the the World Cups. Are finished this time, so the next World Cup will set it up a little bit different, but it's in the game now, and I'd be using it.
For sure, for $3,000, I would not blink an eye, because somebody will end up doing it to you as Kayla and Ben here. They go their separate ways. Ben getting very close to the edge there, but coming on through. We're seeing some high-level gameplay from these two riders. Heads-up racing, neither giving an inch to the other opponent. And the scoreboard at the top is still very much up for grabs. There is a 20-point swing here between Ben and Kayla, and both of them wanting that top seed, wanting the point. And I think Ben winning the two first races, I think that's just angered Kayla. She's like, nope, I want this as badly, and I think she'll dig even deeper to come around, but can Ben succumb to this? Because there's still a lot of racing left. We're halfway through. We find ourselves every single time on Lakeview Lanes going, well, there's a 2.5 scoring multiplier. There's Dark Matter Spire. There's Country Rally. There's a lot of racing yet to be had out here.
Yeah, there's a lot of racing. What I look at, is they're equal, right? They're from the physical aspect. I think Ben still has some power up, so it's definitely advantage Ben. And I think the killer in when you look at these races is hesitation, right? So as an example, Kayla was off the back. I think she was going to try and work her way back without using the power ups. I think there are very few people, Tim comes to mind, Tim Fulford, who can save their power-ups and use them effectively at the end. And I think people see that, and they're like, oh, he's one of the, he's second seed here, but one of the top seeds, in the tournament overall. And it's, like, I'm going to emulate him. And, but I think it's the rare rider for sure, who can sort of do the hesitation and still triumph. So for most riders, I think aggressiveness is a much better course of action. So you saw in the end, Kayla had to use her power-ups anyway, and her power-ups became a survival technique versus a winning technique. And so I tend to want to use them in a place where I can put pressure on the other guy. Versus just getting back to the other guy. Now, it's not that I haven't used them that way before, because that's becomes your only choice at some point, right? But I think you're better off to put the other guy in a hurt position, because they tend to hesitate, and that's usually the beauty of it. If you get a gap with your power ups, usually the other people will tend to be like, I think I'll wait a little bit to see if I can pull them back or if they fade a little bit or whatever. And if you don't fade, but you're on the other side of 367 equalized watts, you're actually, without them being able to realize it because they're not close to you, you're putting in time. You're putting in 1 second. You're putting in 2 seconds. And before you know it, you're at that 10-second level. And then when they go to use their power-ups, they can get to the 5-second level, right? And then you go hard again, and you can break their spirit. So I think hesitation hurts you more than anything in CVRcade.
We're now seeing the two riders. They're starting to cat and mouse a tiny bit as Kayla bumps into the back of Ben here. And if he notices that, he could utilize this to his advantage because we're seeing guttering. We're seeing Ben really put Kayla into the wind because the wind is so drastic, it's so heavy, and it changes position. You see Ben either favoring the far right or the far left, trying to never really allow Kayla to get into his draft. And I feel like a crash is imminent. I feel like these two are now playing with fire as they're trying to disallow the other rider to rest up. And Ben was at 196, 195, and here it goes, Frank. He's got Racer's Edge, he's got Power Plant, this is his move. He's got to be careful, though. We saw Quinton almost crash, and this corner coming up could be it.
Yeah, I think he's waving goodbye as he made it through that corner and didn't crash into the pieces here. And Kayla was just, she was at a disadvantage because she had to use her power-ups to get back. And it's just, the other thing that I'm noticing in these zones, and so I think it's S&T tonight that will be riding, but especially on Lakeview lanes, it doesn't hurt you to be the lead rider. That wind is so big, and the guttering, if you gutter everybody else, I was noticing with the equalized heart rates, because Ben and Kayla very, very close to one another in terms of their overall heart rates, that when she was behind, she was actually starting to spend more power, right? Because she's bumping, she's getting gapped a little bit, she's having to burn a match to get, a small match, but a little match to get back on, so on and so forth. And Ben was just being able to ride at the front, steady Eddie, where he's in his rhythm. And sometimes I think people follow wheels too much because they think they're going to get the draft, and we all know how great the draft is. And I think in most courses that's where it works out really well. But in courses like this with a huge wind, it may put you a little bit of a disadvantage, especially when there's not a lot of draft, right? There's one rider. I think it would change dramatically if there was 15 riders in the pack, but that's not the case.
And that's where also the advantage is having one of the later Omniums. Like there's both advantages and disadvantages of being one of the later zones, because Zone K was the first one up. They were the fish in water trying to learn out how does this play out. And then Zones L got to watch it, Zone M got to watch it, and later on tonight, I promise you, Casey has studied everything. Ryan, Louise, Aaron, Nigel, Sadeo, Daniel, and Jennifer, they will looked at these Omniums and go, okay, I see how this rider did here and did there. I am racing the same zones, and the same thing could happen. But now, let's see, Ben Shuey along in a winning position. What do you have for us here, Ben? Let's see what he brings up as he gets ready. The crowd waits in anticipation. I'm not sure. What would you rate that, Frank, out of 10?
4? Oh wait, I'm supposed to be nice. 7. No, I'm going to call that the Tarzan celebration. And all joking aside, I'll give that a 6.75.
Oh, very generous from Frank Garcia there as we see Kayla cross the finish line and we get to see the Tarzan once more. But I do like this scoring here, adding a whole nother level to it as we catch the finish line once again. We get to enjoy Ben. I do like the, you can kind of see the mental thought. He's like, oh God, what do I do? What do I do here? What do I do? And then Ben Shuey-Long, 100 meters to go, looks up, here's the broadcast audio and goes, okay, time to shine, and dust the Tarzan. Now, I'm excited to see once Frank gets back racing if he's going to steal this one. But we do have a judgment. I do have a rating here. I don't know if you can see it, but it says 5.5 from me, Ben. I'm sure you can do better, but congratulations on the win regardless. How do you feel about the racing and the scoring you just got?
Oh, fantastic! Yeah, I think both both this race and the last race, I saw Kayla use her power up, and I thought in the previous one, I thought if I can catch back up, then I'm with her and I've got a power up in hand. And today, I just thought because it was a strong wind, I thought if I can get a gap, then it's much harder to get back on the wheels. So I actually tried that on the first lap, but she came back. So I think we both sort of had a bit of a rest. But again, I had the power up, so that worked out well. And I think in both races, eventually, I sort of got the gap that was enough for Kayla to sort of give up, and decide to rest up. I think that's what happened in both these races, which is great for me because it means that I had a nice sort of easy run into the finish line, so I can save some legs for this next race as well. So can't say better than that. 6.5 on the celebration, so that's good. That's good. It means there's more headroom to keep upping my game on the celebration side of things. So
what's more important, winning all 5 races here or getting a perfect 10 on the celebration?
The racing. That's it's the legs that do the talking. So let's see what happens.
Well, I'll let you rest up the legs as you've got 3 minutes 40 seconds until Dark Matter Spire gets underway. Kayla, second place once more, being forced to using your power-ups to get back on. We heard Frank talk about assertiveness and making those decisions. How come you didn't use the power-ups in the beginning? Were you trying to save them and get back on using your legs?
Yeah, I knew how my legs were, and it was what was it, 14 kilometer per hour wind. So I knew that wind was, you can feel that in the trainer, that resistance quite heavily. So I knew it was 3 laps of Lakeview lanes too. So I thought that it wouldn't be in my best advantage to get right at the front because I just knew in my legs. And we have the 2 others following beyond that as well. But Ben's just racing just another caliber than I am right now, and it's just he's doing amazing, and I can't let him get all 5 though. I'm not giving up, so I'm gonna keep battling until the last event in this Omnium. So we'll see how this one goes, but hopefully it'll work out a little bit better than the previous one.
I'm sure equally around the whole CVRcade world, they're watching going, come on, Kayla, don't let Ben take that first seat, because if he wins all 5 races, I'm fairly certain he's going to be guaranteed, if not tied. Now, it's possible for somebody else, but it could be. So I'll wish you luck, and I think the rest of the community send their energy and their goodwill as you can try and upset Ben as we see the Tarzan one more time. But Frank, winning all 5 races in an Omnium like this, even if it's just 2- and 3-man racing, it's not as easy as Ben is making it look.
And I think that what I heard from Kayla is doubt, right? So she's like, my legs just kind of aren't there today. And I think Ben's probably on the other side, and we saw Neil's in the same spot. My legs are on, right? I've got the good sensations in the legs. All the muscle fiber electrical signals are wide open. Everything's firing appropriately. And then, you go to Kayla, who's, again, let's all remember she's coming back from injured reserve. Then, she's like, the sensations just really quite aren't there. And Cade is such a mental game as well. And, sure, that's the power-ups and how you use them and the tactics and all of that. But it's also this this physical mental connection that, either gives you confidence or takes it away that's very, very important inside of Cade. And so I think that's what you see. Mind games, sort of next-level mind games here in CVRcade. And you sort of see that, there's a lot of wind on this one. Maybe I'll save it, and then before you know it, you're okay. And I think the next level also of mental games for that is Kayla sits well to move on, right? And when you're going to move on, you're kind of like, well, how hard do I really want to go? So I predict that Ben will take all 5, that he will be the top seed. I don't think anybody else will take all 5 in the later omniums, and so he'll be, will end up being the 3rd seed in on Saturday, which will be great positioning for him.
Big words there from Frank Garcia. I think another aspect as well is the mood in which you qualify through. Like, is it a nail-biter finish? Do you have the adrenaline and the excitement and the closure? Because on Saturday, Ben is going to have a very successful trip onto the knockout stages on Saturday, perhaps winning all 5. We don't know. I think Kayla's going to come out here and just out of pure spite perhaps try and take one. But the journey in which you get there, because Kayla's on the opposite side. Like, yes, she's qualified on through in 2nd place, but theoretically she's lost, at this point at least, every single track. And that doesn't really inspire confidence going into Saturday. Yes, you qualified, but the circumstances in which you do, like, it's this whole ecosystem where everything plays into the racing and how you perform. But 2 races remain. Dark Matter Spire is up now, as you see. It's the low skill event of the day. It comes down to the legs, but I think so far from what you're saying, Frank, Kayla, she's sitting back, she's sitting comfortable, but she's not giving up just quite yet.
Yeah, it's interesting what you said earlier. So I think this is how slumps develop, right? And that's kind of what you can see. So maybe you get a little fatigued, maybe you get a little sick, and maybe that's the sort of the event that kicks off your slump a little bit, and then the slump happens, and so you move from being sort of the aggressive rider that you were, because Kayla's been historically a very aggressive rider, inside of CVRcade. And then what happens is, you get knocked off your game a little bit, and you start to become a little more defensive. You start to want to follow wheels a little bit more, and so you start thinking about, what wheel you can follow more than, how you can put somebody on their back foot, and that sort of changes your game. And now you're following wheels all the time, and then, you're getting bumped. And maybe you're getting blocked, and that starts to affect your mental psyche, and the slump sort of deepens and deepens. And this is where coaches are great, right? So coaches can help you sort of break that slump mentality, and give you things to work on that put you back on the front foot instead of on the back foot again. And so I think that's the other thing that you're saying, and that's why I was talking about Ben earlier. Ben's on the other side of that, right, where suddenly he can do no wrong, right? Like, and you see him out here, on the front. We see Kayla; she looks like she's suffering, and if we look at Ben, he's like, yeah, I'm just out here. I'm going hard, but it's all good because I'm going to win. And so you sort of get that dynamic of the reverse of a slump, right? It's, the Reggie Jackson, Mr. October sort of thing. Every time he would get to October, he just believed he was going to be good because that's what always happened before. And boy, that mental part of the game really makes a huge difference. And so, like I said, I'm liking Ben on Saturday. And then you got Tim and Modi who are like, woohoo, we got the passes. Well, you can get stale, right? So, the question is, what are they doing this week? What are they doing in terms of replays? What are they doing to stay fresh? It's we see this in playoffs all the time over here in the States, like in the NFL. Like, sometimes having the 2-week break, which should be helpful, is anything but. And you just come out totally stale and flat, especially for the first half of a game or whatever. So I'm really liking Ben. Peter looked good today. Maybe a little bit more prone to the mistakes, and like I said, I think Ben is a student of the game, and I like his chances coming up on Saturday.
Well, to further use the sports analogy, I think Bill Belichick says it nicely. Like the season doesn't really begin until you get to Thanksgiving, and this is exactly Thanksgiving. I mean, we're seeing the meaty end of the calendar come up now, and this is where you really gotta be performing. It doesn't matter what you did in the open session and the seeding. This is where you have to perform. You can have gone undefeated until this point and raced again and again and again, but this is where we are, and especially if you come into the playoffs, is when you really gotta shine. You could have had a poor race, you could have been on the upward upward trajectory, but you've got to stay engaged all the way through. And you can see that from Ben. He's even dancing on the pedals now as he's jumping up and down. And on your note on Moti and Tim, with a bye in hand, if there's one thing I'm sure that both of them will do, they will do physical replays of this. They will stay fit. But the thing that I fear for them is that they may underestimate the competition. Being first and second seed through is a major accomplishment. But then you perhaps look down at those who raced and you think, oh, they're tired. They raced last week. They come in as secondary seeds. We're the top dogs. And that's when upsets happen. When you get complacent, when you get comfortable, and suddenly somebody does their homework more than you do, that's where you get penalized. And that will be interesting. But Frank, I think everybody is now waiting in anticipation of Ben Shuilong's next celebration. What do you think he's going to bring out to the table this time?
Well, I really gave him a 6.5. I actually kind of like the Tarzan, and I think the moderator, the CVRcade moderator, gave him a 9.
Oh,
but I don't think it deserved a 9 because his camera was not framed correctly, so we could only see half. We could only see a half Tarzan. And so I think maybe that's why I'm down at 5.5, or you are down at 5.5. But it'll be interesting. I think they're going to have some fun with the celebrations, and the celebrations I think will work both ways, right? I often emulate the celebrations that the avatars make in game. That's where I started sort of my celebrations, but now I think I can feel a Tarzan celebration coming to the avatar in the game from Ben as well, and then he's going to be like, hey, come on, like if you put that in the game, it had to be a 10, right? and so that's going to be interesting as well. But it's a game. We get to have a lot of fun with it. And here you see Vanessa saying, you know what? Let me show you how this is done.
Oh, that's gotta be bittersweet as she passes Kayla. Kayla does not look like she's got anything left as Vanessa, with a late surge, 12 points is the difference. And if she wins the next race, there's a possibility she actually takes the second spot. So suddenly, the top two are in position, and Ben is feeling it. Vanessa's coming back here. Only 3 seconds is the difference, forced out into a sprint. And ladies and gentlemen, we wait. Oh, no. Frank, I'll go first this time. That looks like a solid 0.1.
I was going to say, can we go negatives here? What was that? That was... Hey, Ben, I'm talking you up over here. Don't get overconfident, man. Come on, stay in the zone. Stay in the zone. Yes, but I think what he's saying is he wants one for the thumb here. And actually, he's I think if Vanessa had made that move a little bit earlier, she might have surprised Ben. And if she did, I think Kayla to be in a world of hurt. The fat lady has not sung.
That'd be an upset.
Sure.
Whew, but Vanessa always gives this sensation, like Renee and Vanessa are very similar. They come in and when they race, they do incredibly well. They just struggle over multiple events. And so Vanessa now, 12 points to differ to Kayla. First to third here, there's 14 points. So if Vanessa wins, Kayla comes third, Vanessa goes on through to Saturday's racing. I would not want to be at the water cooler after that race. But let's go have a chat with Ben. Ben, negative points from Frank. I can't wait to see what the moderator in the chat's going to give, because if they gave a 10 for the last one, oh my goodness, charity season. Ben, what do you have to say for yourself?
Give me a break. I at the last minute there, I had to put in a sprint because I thought Vanessa was going to catch me. So I was a bit flustered with the win there. But I promise you, if I win the last one, I won't do a 5. I'll do something else.
Well, you're going to have to win it first, but Vanessa is coming back now. And 210 points, if you come third here, suddenly that first seed is up for grabs again through the Saturday. Does Vanessa start to strike some fear into you?
Well, I mean, it's Vanessa or Kayla. I mean, they're both, close in the points. I think it's one thing to only have 3 or 4 people in the Omnium, but it means that everyone scores quite close to each other in every round. So, you really need to be consistent because because the points differences aren't that great, as you just pointed out. So, you know, they can both put out extremely good performances, so I'm not taking anything for granted.
Now let's go and hear from Kayla, because Kayla, you look good in second place. Suddenly, into the last race here, Vanessa is a threat to perhaps take that second place. What's going through your mind?
I don't even know what's going through my mind right now. I just cannot believe that I can't even get a win. Oh my gosh. But going to still paddling it through. I'm glad that Vanessa got some points, though, on that last one. I mean, she just battled it into. I just got to figure out what's going on with myself, though. But we're going into the last one, so I still have a chance of just at least taking one win for the day. Going into it, just to get a little bit more confidence going into the races, but just taking it one race at a time. So this one has wind on it, and then we have flat tire and corner keeper. So really, it could be anybody's race.
I like the sounds of that. Good luck in this one, Kayla. Last race up. This could be all or nothing for Kayla Laguna and the continuance of her CVRcade bracketed session story. Frank, what do you make of those two interviews? Kayla wanting to get back on top and Ben making excuses for his celebrations.
I wanted to give him negative points for his celebration, but I really kind of liked it. And if I was him, I'd definitely be doing one for the thumb and pointing at my 5. And I think he wants that badly. And then Ben becomes like, sort of like the complete picture, right? He's the guy who can build tracks. He can talk about tactics. I mean, he's going to write the CVRcade book next, right? So, certainly a well-rounded human being in terms of, all of his talents and really starting to shine here. I'll put my coach hat on here for a moment. And just watching Kayla, I think, she's not returned, her form has not returned fully. She's probably still a little bit overtrained. And so I think what will be interesting is if I was Kayla, I'd just take a break completely until Friday. Just do no riding, do nothing. And then do an opening ride on Friday. It's a little risky, sort of rolling the dice. And then, she might surprise everybody by just having sort of a peak maneuver on Saturday and just, being super strong. So we'll see how that develops. Now, let's not count the chickens before they hatch. Vanessa is sitting coyly here in the back. But if she comes on through and wins this, then things are going to get very exciting. Whoa, Vanessa with a last-second maneuver to avoid the crash. And so, but anyway, this is going to be interesting. And if you're Ben, I think I would be putting the pressure on Kayla here to sort of go to the front and pull us away from Vanessa.
Now, all it takes is one crash. I think in 3 laps, if you make one mistake with a crashing, it could be all over. We see Vanessa's point of view here. Ben Kayla on the front. I wonder if there's ever a scenario where you're Ben Shuilong and you kind of give up that 5th win. Because you have the possibility here of taking out what could be a pre-race favorite. You already see a tiny bit of blocking on the front there. And here is an opportunity to eliminate Kayla Laguna. For the longest time, she was the biggest threat when you started the racing. She was on the start line. She would be one of the top guns to win it. Now Ben Shuilong, Kayla, Vanessa. This is shaping up to be a fantastic finale. But then Vanessa goes down. Oh, that changed everything.
Yes. So I know Vanessa is a very competitive person in her heart, and I think she was starting to salivate there, and started looking up the road. But she kind of chose that awkward lane where you've got to make a lot of lane changes, and that just cost her right there. So going to be very difficult for her to get back in this short of a race, but we'll see how it goes.
I'm seeing the log she run into on the highlight there. I mean, that was the tiniest of pixels that clipped that bike that took her down, and so she will not be satisfied with that luck, and she'll definitely be back into the game and looking at the pixels going, what did I just hit? And so 12 seconds is the differ now, and we watch as Kayla and Ben fighting for the win here. And for both of them, this victory is massive. Ben has got a chance to take 5 wins here, which has not been seen before. It'll be a first off here, but Kayla needs this victory to kind of raise her spirits ahead of Saturday, but she also needs it to just reaffirm that she's got what it takes. You've been out for a while, you come back in. It is not easy to return back into the lion's den after that much of a rest.
Well, I actually think Ben needs it more, and the reason is his celebration that you gave him a 0.1, and I said, can we give him negative values for the 4? But if he wins this one, that turns into a 10, right? And he can put his hand up and do the 1 for the thumb, and that becomes a 10 because when you're that dominant and you make that much happen, then whatever celebration you're doing is a great one. Oh, brilliant use there, by the way, of a flat tire by Kayla. Was also reversed by Ben, but Ben was getting away, and Kayla says, no, you're not.
It's a bit preemptive by Ben as well. This is the last lap of racing, but when flat tire is a power that everybody has, as Vanessa, I think she crashes on the same lug again. You use the corner caper after the flat tires have been used because he used his power, but now he's down 1. Now, I think he may still have his flat tire available, so he's got that in the hole. So I guess it is a trade 1 for 1, so perhaps it actually was the better play. Again, next level strategies coming out to play here, but 800 meters remain.
Yeah. Oh, and I thought Kayla was going to get caught there. Now there's a corner caper. Oh, I can't believe she didn't use the corner caper there and go hard. Boy, people like to save those things to the end. So we'll see how it plays out. And we got a little bit of traffic. So this is very, very interesting. I think Ben wants this super bad. I think Kayla wants this super bad. And this is really just, honor, right? I just want this because I want it. I don't have to have it. But it'll be very, very interesting. Oh, very interesting there. What happens now?
Well, you'd assume Ben has a flat tire still, and he's going to save it for the last moment, but Kayla gets in front of Ben here. Ben needs to be 1 lane over. We see the side-by-side here as they come into the finish line. Ben still with a flat tire holding up, and so I think he's just going to wait to pop that at the very last moment, perhaps, as Kayla comes on through.
Oh, I don't think he had it.
Oh, he doesn't have it.
I think he burnt it. No, yeah, I think he burnt it when she when she stopped him. He did the reverse.
What? What? Oh my goodness. Okay, I'm not sure if you just saw that celebration, Frank, but
I can't unsee it, which is part of the problem. What was that? We'll get a ruling from Mixer on Family Friendly Stream. Was that Casper? I don't even know what to call that. The jaundice Casper the ghost celebration, or what do we call that? I don't even know. I'm speechless.
I think somebody has watched one too many football games over here in the UK, but oh my goodness, Ben Shuilong. I mean, I was kind of let down by your previous antics. I thought, it's Ben, he can do better. He's so creative when it comes to the track. The thumbs up, we've seen that before. But I think it is time. You've earned it. A big fat 10 here from the production crew. Both Victor and I just straight out laughed, Ben. Oh my goodness. Congratulations, by the way. 5 races, and I think that secures you the top seed.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, over the moon. Amazing. So, yes, that was definitely a soccer classic, celebration. I don't even like soccer, but, I was just trying to think of something different. But, yeah, no, that was a tough one. The legs are really starting to hurt this race. I think I felt great in the last 4, and this one I was like happy to just draft Kayla a little bit, and in the end that was the idea, just try and out sprint in the last sort of 500 meters to just put in a bit more power and get the gap, and yeah, thankfully it worked.
But I'm glad that now that celebrations are in order, you've got your victory stands when we get to Saturday. And if you were to get up there, now you have a variety you can pull from. Now, I advise to never let the hooligan see the light of day ever again. But the Tarzan, even to a degree, the thumbs up or the fingers up, maybe. But congratulations, Ben. It's been great to watch you race. Seeing you up against Kayla, what's waiting on you on Saturday? How do you deal with that sort of pressure for Saturday?
I don't think it puts any real pressure. It's going to get harder and harder, and everyone's competitive. So there was only 3 of us in the zone today, so I'm not going to get carried away. I just try and rest up, keep the legs spinning, as Frank was sort of saying, if I did nothing in the next 3-4 days, that wouldn't be so good. So keep things ticking over, and try and make sure I'm in tip-top shape for Saturday.
Well, congratulations. You should definitely go watch Mixer Chat and go back and find that highlight and see how they reacted. Now, Kayla, you almost got there in the end. You were so close to getting back up and beating Ben on the final race. It looked like you wanted it badly, but it just wasn't going to be your day here today. But you did still qualify.
Yeah. That is the plus that I did qualify. But hats off to Ben. I mean, he raced tremendous today. I mean, it was just a great display of racing. He was smart with his tactics. He was strong in his legs. And, I mean, congratulations to him. He won every single event in the Omnium. So that's just amazing. So, kudos to him and good luck in the tournament. But I'll be seeing him there again on Saturday. So don't you worry. I'm coming back. I got a fire lit under me right now, so I'm ready.
I would be petrified right now if I'm Ben, but he probably can't see you over his shirt. So plenty of racing left to come on Saturday. I'll let you get back.
Yeah, kudos to him. 10 out of 10 on that that win animation. That was awesome.
I think that's going to make an excellent highlight once it makes the rounds on Facebook and Instagram. So don't worry, Ben. The whole family will get to see that eventually, all in the name of the sake of having fun. But that's it. That's all she wrote here. 3 zones in a row. Let's bring them all up here on the highlight screen. As you can see, Zone K was the first one up today in the bracketed session tournament, as Quinton Molyneux, Allison Kubota, Homer Thompson, and Rick Woods duked it out. Only 2 could go on through, and in this one, the name of the game was really crashing. It was Rick Woods, Homer Thompson unable to keep the rubber side down, and Allison and Quinton limiting their mistakes, really being able to shine on through and optimize the pressure. Just gotta give an applause to Homer coming in today, being very humble about, I can't believe I'm here. But then with physical equalization, everybody has got a chance. As we see Homer going down once, Rick going down as well, being forced to use his power-ups to get back up. But the racing today, as you heard from Frank's great insights doing the stream today, it evolved from zone to zone to zone. And you see these different outcomes from the racing, from Zone K to Zone L to Zone M. And they were all very, very different. And for teams and riders taking part in S&T tonight, it's back to the drawing board. You have to go back, study the tape, and then have a look at how did it pan out. Did your expectations from your homework match what really happened in these ones? And you can perhaps even strategize a bit more about the power-up usages, because we've seen Country Rally be the determinator between Nils Heldens and Peter Kastrup. And on this one, there's a flat tire and a corner caper. How you use that will most likely determine how you perform in the Omnium overall. Same thing goes for Lakeview Lanes. 14-kilometer-an-hour wind. That is such a tough wind that changes the entire dynamic of the track. And you heard Frank say, you know what, staying on the front, it might actually be a benefit. Being the aggressor, being the one able to gutter everyone else is an opportunity that you've got to take perhaps on this. That way you can choose your lane, as we get a great cinematic shot here of the 3 big contenders, Rick, Quinton, and Allison, before Rick, as Frank would put it, face planted into the ground. and the racing continued as this finished with Quinton gets away and qualifies on to Saturday. Now, if today has piqued your interest, there is more racing happening. S&T later on tonight, 6 hours from now. I think it's even 5 hours from now. It's 6. 6 hours from now, I'm gonna have zone S&T. S is Casey Shum, Jennifer Garcia, Daniel LeBlanc, and Sadeo Ikebe. If you want to watch that, make sure to click follow right down here below and keep up to date with all the action, as on Saturday we've got the tournament. So today they've been qualifying for Saturday. On Saturday we start a lot earlier in the day and we run for a lot longer. We're gonna have 7 hours of fun right here on Mixer. I hope you've got your drinks assortment, I hope you've got everything. But Allison versus Quinton, as we see Allison winning that sprint. Then Barney the Barn Door making the acquaintances of 3 riders as Rick Woods gets escorted right into the hay bales as Allison goes right, Quinton goes left, and that's how you take someone out of the racing as the flat tires get used. So if you have a favorite, if you have someone you're now cheering for after watching today, maybe Ben's celebrations and the low scores from Frank and I have made you a Ben Shuilong fanatic, or perhaps Quentin Molinez, Nils Heldens, Peter Kastrup, or you feel for Beth and her mechanical difficulties, well, you can get in on all the action over on Facebook. On Facebook, there's this group called CVRcade Riders Group, and this is where all the riders, they gather around after the racing, around the water cooler, and they talk about the racing, they get rested, and they theory craft, and also you can be a part of the game development. So over on the CVRcade Riders group right now, there's a discussion going on about inertia. Inertia gameplay could be changing very soon, and if you have an opinion on the inertia power-up, if you head over to CVRcade Riders, you too can have an impact on how that may perform in the future. But here, you can see Nils Heldens. Now, Nils Heldens, I'll be the first to say, from the podcast crew, the talk show crew, he did shut us all up. We did have Beth York going through with Peter Castro, but Nils Heldens showing up. Now, not in this clip particularly, as Peter Castro pulls a Peter Castro maneuver on him. What move could possibly be smoother as Nils Heldens goes down? But Nils came to play today, Young Tempest. He's peaking for the racing. He's feeling good, he's feeling confident, and in this sort of track racing where you can limit the amount of variables, he seems to be able to keep his calm and his composure and not have to take in too much information at once, as he does get beat by Peter Kastrup in the end. But a second place is all he needs as Peter slides on through. And Lakeview Lanes, I mean, for the riders racing zone S&T tonight, totally different beast. Like, with the wind on that track, you don't know the corner speeds at times, because suddenly you get a tailwind. You're not used to sliding out in that corner. After that corner, there are obstacles in the road, all these sort of things you gotta be ready for. And Ben Shuilong, take notes, emphasis, charisma, everything here from Nils Heldens as he celebrates his win on Lakeview Lanes. Look at the intensity. I mean, it is just a finger. I know I gave you 1.1, but it's the emotion that comes with it. You may have been tired, but it's the emphasis on I mean it. As Dark Matter Spire next up, and I mean, Saturday. Oh, can you feel, like, we saw the equalized heart rates. Kinjal was at 202. Saw Nils up at 200. Saw Peter at 200. Beth was up there. Quinton, Allison, all these racers. It's the mix of nerves, excitement, adrenaline. And this Saturday, I think we're going to see people hit new threshold heart rates, new max equalized heart rates. 210, I predict right now that we're going to see from somebody. Because we're racing for $3,000 straight up. And that's just this week. Next week, someone will win $5,000. So when you're racing for that amount of money, and for a lot of these guys, it's months of rent, or it's food, or it's Christmas gifts, or for some, maybe just a Christmas gift. But yes, it depends on how much you loved your loved ones or how much money you're willing to spend. But that means the level of excitement and the level of anticipation. I mean, I heard for some riders that they were so nervous for this racing that they were thinking about it. They couldn't sleep, and they were like, oh my goodness, what if I make this mistake? What if that happens? And it's just crazy how much like time and effort has been invested from every single rider, and it's now showtime. It's Thursday night football, it's Monday night football, that's all past and we're into the playoffs. We're finding the wild cards. They're waiting up in the championship games and next, because here we see Ben Shuil on Kayla Laguna. With Vanessa Moore, like, Vanessa has potential to be really, really good in these Omniums if she can limit the crashing on tracks like Fantastic Alien Sea. She almost came back to upset her friend Kayla Laguna and kick her out of the competition. But you heard, I mean, I think Ben might be ruined the fact that he wiped the floor on the 5 out of 5 races on Kayla today, because Kayla has a fire lit and she is ready for more. She's qualified for Saturday's racing. And here we see the first of Ben's celebrations of the day. The challenge had been issued at that point. Show us what you got. Show us your best moves. And then on Lakeview Lanes, it was Ben versus Kayla. And here you heard Frank say, decisiveness, assertiveness, and not hesitating is the name of the game, especially for this event here, as Ben just seemed in the zone, ready to just do everything he needed to do to win the racing. And when Kayla was suffering the most without power-ups, he attacked over the top and he went on to win, as we can now see the celebration now known as the Tarzan. Now I'm excited to see that one come into the racing, because I mean, right now I think we have 1 or 2 or 3 celebrations in the game. It'd be good to see that one make it in as well, as Dark Matter Spire was next up. Ben from the gun using the power-up. So 3 zones have been completed. We've got 7 zones in total of the preliminary rounds. We've got zones S and T today coming up later, so make sure to click follow to know when we go live. And then on Thursday we have zones K and L, and the last 4 zones have potentials for upsets all around, especially zone T. I'd be on the lookout for that one. Make sure, set your alarm and get up early. But concluding the night, finishing it off, we here have Country Rally as Vanessa Murahan. I am certain she'll be back on Country Rally and going, where is that pixel that I crashed on? As she either clips a pedal or a spoke comes out or something as she hits the side of the log. As now we watch the finale on Country Rally. The corner caber from Ben Shuilong coming on through, and then Kayla using flat tire to stop Ben. And then I think, oh, I missed this. Both of them had used their flat tires at that exact moment. And so it was mano a mano here in the sprint. I didn't catch it. Frank did catch it, so heads up by him. In the end, Ben Shuilong just wanting it that bit more, taking the victory. And I think Kayla was saying something there to the screen as well. And now the single best celebration the game has ever seen and will never see again by Ben Shuilong, the hooligan. But thank you so much for watching. Thank you to Frank for being a great co-commentator and sharing his time with us. Thank you to all the racers, and later on tonight, Beth York will step into the booth to commentate Zone S and Zone T. Do not miss a beat. Click follow down below. But until later tonight, we'll see you. But no, Beth York goes crashing down. Termination, the suffering, the ability to... And she's unleashed everything in this attack. See just how much that win means to him. All the marvels. Kayla versus Allison, and to the line. Kayla Laguna takes the victory.